to go, 80 laps, and we are green in 2017 in ARCA.
Trouble already. Cautions breed caution. We say that all the time, Kevin. Could have been a lot worse. Here's Terrio on the inside in the 52 car. Oh, trouble.
Oh, and a big hit that Thompson took. And on fire, that's Baccarella. Multiple incidents on this one. And nothing you can do. 25 laps to go. There we have a big one in the back. This is the opportunity right here for Terrio. And Terrio is out in front and he's down to the bottom. Contact hard into the wall. So this one is going to be official. What a start to 2017 for Austin Terrio.
Could be the start of a championship run for him.
And it's time to kickstart 2018 to see who will be the next champion after Austin Terrio won it last year. It starts first at the World Center of Racing with the Lucas Oil 200 driven by General Tire. The General Tire Pole Award presented yesterday has some significance. Natalie Decker, just the 4th female to win it at Daytona, the 3rd in ARCA. Group qualifying. She had a good group.
She did exactly what her crew chief and her spotter told her, just like she told us a few moments ago for this race. She did an awesome job there. The top 4 cars separated by 2/100ths of a second.
And those cars that we saw are the front 2 rows of the starting grid. For the General Tire 200, the Lucas Oil 200, here's how they line up with Natalie Decker and Zane Smith on her outside on the front row.
Yeah, a lot of fast cars. Chase Purdy will be running full-time for MDM Motorsports. Max Tolman making his debut in row 2.
Leilani Mooner's best start ever in her ARCA career, and Gus Dean, who was a championship contender last year, should be again this year.
There's Travis Braden. He was a winner back at Lucas Oil Raceway 2-3 years ago. He's going to run full-time for Don Fike in the 27 car.
So Riley Herbst, who also got a win last year, is going to do a couple of truck races for Kyle Busch this year. Tom Hessert is a multiple winner in the ARCA Racing Series.
Why don't we see if we can chat with Tom Hessert? Hey, Tom Hessert, Phil Parsons up in the FS1 booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I mean, when I...
He's talking about his pit road speed right now. Yeah, talking about 4,000 RPMs. Hey, Tom Hessert, Phil Parsons in the FS1 booth. You got a copy?
That's my clear, Phil.
Tom, you have more experience than just about anybody up in front of you. What's your game plan going to be with all that youth and experience up there?
Well, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be here a few times in the past, but this is a very different race. It's our first time with these 5-star composite bodies, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's really hard. It could be a 2-stop race. It's different in the past, and just try to be around at the end.
Well, we know you know how to do that. Have a good one, bud.
All right, thanks, Phil.
And with group qualifying, you've got some coming a little further back, but our onboards are all near the front. We've got 5 of them, Phil.
Yeah, we're going to ride along in the ARCA Coolers on board. That's Riley Herbst. He was our rookie of the year. He was not old enough to race here last year. Ran the rest of the season. He starts in the 8th spot.
Travis Braden, full-time this year for Fike Racing. He has the General Tire on board, starting 7th.
We're going to ride along on the cooling products on board of Gus Dean. Gus won the race at Talladega a couple years ago. He will start from the 6th spot.
Here's a good look at Gus Dean on board. Leilani Munter starting 5th. Has the veganstrong.com on board. She was strong here last year, and she just announced today she's going to do almost half the season.
That's awesome. We're also going to ride along with our pole sitter, Natalie Decker, trying to become the first female ever to win an ARCA Racing Series event. She's in the N29 Capital Partners Toyota for Venturini Motorsports.
Well, we had a great rookie race last year for the Scott Rookie Award, and it went down to the last race of the season. Gus Dean led into that final race by 2 points, but he was edged by Riley Herbst, who still won it despite not racing at Daytona last year. Now this year we've got 4 that are going to have a pretty stiff battle throughout the season.
Yeah, we mentioned Chase Purdy driving for MDM Motorsports. You see he's got 3 starts already in the series with 2 top 10s. There's Natalie with her 2 top 10s. Travis Braden with that when we talked about him, Brandon Grasso would have been racing here, but he's not old enough, just like Riley Herbst last year. He will be in the remainder of the races.
16 rookies in the field, and we've got our own rookie here on the broadcast. He's a racer himself in midget racing. Welcome to Dylan Welch.
Well, thank you, Kevin. As you guys have talked about, many rookies in the field today, but many of these rookies have a veteran voice up top in the form of a spotter. 8 current Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series spotters on hand today to help these ARCA drivers navigate their way over the course of this 80-lap race. Notably, the guys that start second and third. Zane Smith, whose pit box we're in right now, rolling off from outside the front row. He's got Derek Nealon, who's Kyle Larson's spotter on the Cup side of things. Chase Purdy, who starts third, has TJ Majors, who has engineered Dale Earnhardt Jr. to multiple Daytona victories. So 2 guys who know how to navigate their drivers around the high banks here at Daytona. Ultimately, the spotters can only do so much. It's in the driver's hands at the end of the day, but it's nice to have a veteran voice and a voice you can trust in your ear to help get yourself around Daytona. To the end of pit road, and Jim Trado.
Thanks, Dylan. And we mentioned Dave Liner, the crew chief for Natalie Decker, the pole sitter. He has 5 Daytona victories here, but there's also a very impressive list of crew chiefs, veterans of the NASCAR National Series. Booty Barker's been added to help Riley Herbst in his 2nd season. Kelly Barraclaw comes over from a lot of years in NASCAR. Frank Kimmel, the 10-time ARCA driver, is now on the box for Leilani Munter for this race. There's a lot of veteran that leadership from practice, from the test a month ago to today. This veteran leadership is going to help these young drivers here at Daytona throughout these 80 laps.
They are lined up, ready to go. The first stock car race of 2018 is green. Here we go from Daytona. Smith trying to get the edge on the outside. He's in the black and yellow car on the high side. Decker stays even as they go into turn number 2. Decker just barely nosing in front, but they're still side by side, headed down the backstretch.
A lot of the drivers and crew chiefs told me they thought the outside line was going to be the place to be. They felt like there were faster cars in that outside line.
Zane Smith will lead them going into turn 3. Decker on the bottom side, and Max Tolman on the high side, making his first ever ARCA start.
Now these guys and girls are getting to feel what it's like to run around so many other vehicles here.
Smith will lead lap 1. They're side by side for second. Tolman scored in second. Then Decker, Gus Dean, Chase Purdy, Riley Herbst, Leilani Munter.
It looked like the outside line had a little bit of energy right there, so Zane Smith moved up to try to pull that outside line up even with the inside line.
Zane Smith told me yesterday, my car is stupid fast. He's one of about 4 or 5 that feel like they've got a really good piece for this race.
I think there's at least 15 cars capable of winning this race.
No doubt. Natalie Decker is hanging in there. She'll try to nose up to the inside on the bottom line. That's on board with Decker, looking at Tolman.
Look at that sun as they come off of turn 4 towards the tri-oval there.
How difficult is that?
Very difficult.
Tolman ahead into second. And now Decker being challenged by Gus Dean for third.
Pretty smooth start so far. Have a bit of a breakaway. About half the field is broken away, maybe a little bit more than that.
Max Tolman running in second, making his ARCA debut. He has raced here before on the road course in SCCA racing, and he said that actually does help because you spend a good amount of time on part of the oval.
Gus Dean's trying to bring that outside line up. Right now he's even with Natalie Decker. That's the white car with the red stripe, Natalie Decker. Gus Dean, the blue and white car. There's Gus right there, the Greek Cooling Products car for Wintron Racing.
They made some changes in the offseason, including switching to Chevrolet. They have made a concerted effort backed by Gree to run for the championship and start thinking about Gus's next career move for next year. But he said it starts with, we want to compete for a championship in ARCA.
Brought Jamie Jones in to call the shots, veteran crew chief of NASCAR.
One thing Zane Smith told me is that the car is pretty good in the draft, but it really feels good on its own, and he's running on his own.
Really doing a nice job. You know, there are cars that like to lead, and there are cars that like to follow. It looks like he's got a car that likes to lead.
Smith, Tolman, Decker scored in third, 4 completes. And Dean, Purdy, Herbst, Munter, Hessert, Braden, and Bo Lemastis up to 10th position.
Bo's driving the car. New team. Chad Bryant bought Cunningham Motorsports out. Cunningham Motorsports won the championship 2 years ago with Chase Briscoe. Chad was a crew chief for that effort. The Cunningham people wanted to get out. Gary Shear and Chad bought it. Now he's a car owner here, and this car is doing a nice job with Bo Lemastis behind the wheel.
So you know those are good pieces. Crosley, his longtime sponsor.
See Tom Hessert nose out there. Looks like Tom may have elected to go towards the back of the field. He told me that might be a possibility for him, and just to ride a little bit. That was him up on the high side, 3 wide. Boy, everybody doing a nice job staying in line. Not worrying about a whole lot of side drafting and things right now, but the outside line has lost a lot of energy. You see the first car is the 32 car of Gus Dean. He has really dropped back now.
A little further back of note, Andy Seiss has worked his way up to 11th. He's already picked up 14 positions from where he started.
He finished second at Talladega, so he knows how to get it done on a super speedway.
That was a great story last year. There's a look at the 02 car from Our Motorsports.
There's Sheldon Creed, the 28 guys we haven't seen yet in this race, as they move by Gus Dean in the 32.
Sheldon Creed came so close to winning several times last year. He is on that short list of championship contenders, running the full season this year for the first time.
And right now, Gus Dean needs to get down to the bottom. He has some help up at the top, but they don't seem to be able to make much ground up.
Let's get more from pit road. Let's check in with Jim.
Guys, strategies are starting to form. Partnerships are starting to form as well. Out of the picture will be the 54 soon enough. The DGR Crosley Toyota driver Noah Gregson has just told his team, I'm going to start, I think, heading to the back. This Toyota, however, the brand spanking new piece out of David Gilliland's shop, has been fast. A lot of teams have taken note. Members of other teams have said, I want to be where the 54 is. Gregson was so fast here last year in Speed Weeks at Daytona for the ARCA Racing Series. In the Venturini Motorsports camp, he has confidence. He has a car, he told me, he can put just about anywhere. But right now he's thinking maybe going to the back with Tom Hessert, the veteran, might be a better plan here at this point in the race.
Noah Gregson is one of the veterans, and he's 19 years old. All the young drivers making their Daytona debut, no issues in the early going. And Zane Smith leads them early going. ARCA at Daytona on FS1. The 2017 season started with Austin Theriault winning here at Daytona International, and it was the first of 7 wins on the way to a championship for Ken Schrader Racing. Fantastic season in 2017 for the Maine native, and Austin Theriault joins us now in the booth as we kick off 2018. Thanks for joining us today on FS1 for the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menard Season Opener. I'm Kevin Lee, along with Phil Parsons, Jim Trado, and Dylan Welch are on pit road. No change up front. It's 18-year-old Zane Smith from Huntington Beach, California. He grabbed the lead on the first lap, and he has stayed up front. Max Tolman right behind him. Natalie Decker, who started on the pole, hanging right there in third. Chase Purdy, Leilani Munter, the top 5. Austin, it's great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, guys. It's great to be up here today and catching all the action.
What do you make of what we've seen so far?
Well, I think the drivers are doing what they need to do right now. The bottom is the safe line. Beginning of the races here, you always see people just sort of feeling it out. The composite bodies is definitely something new. First time ever racing at Daytona, and then they take them to Talladega later on in the year. But I'm liking what I'm seeing right now. People are, the drivers are being safe, and I think later on in the race you're going to see the top line come in.
What do you think about Tom Hessert's plan of dropping back?
Well, I think it's it could work out. The problem is these ARCA races are so short. You know, the Daytona 500, you have plenty of time to make your way back to the front, but track position's so important at a short race like this.
And already we have 2 distinct groups. Looks like we've got about 13 cars in the lead pack, and then you go back quite a ways before you find the next pack of cars.
Yeah, about 7 seconds back to that next pack that's led by Tom Hessert in the 55 car.
15 cars in that lead pack. Riley Herbst is at the tail end of that, and as you said, then it's Hessert leading the next group. Is it impressive that these young drivers that have not driven here and some not on a super speedway are keeping it all together and leading and running up front?
Absolutely. We knew that there was a lot of talent coming into this race. Experience wasn't there, but we know that talent sometimes is more important, especially when you have veteran spotters up top basically telling these kids where to run, where not to run, and when to pull out a line. So they're fortunate to have them, put it that way.
How important are spotters here, Austin? I know you did such a great job last year winning that race, but how important is a spotter here?
Critical. You know, it's hard to see because the cars look like they have about a half a car length between them, but once you get in a big pack, you can hardly see getting into the corner. You just have to follow the cars in front of you, and at that point, it's the spotter, you know, telling you where you are, telling you how far the car is behind you, and you don't want to say this, but they're just as important as the driver in a race like this.
No doubt about it. They deserve an awful lot of the credit. How challenging is that, though, to depend so much? You know, a race car driver used to, on track at least, having a lot of control. You can't take total control on a plate track.
No, you got to trust your spotter, and that's why I like Daytona, because you build a chemistry. You know, hopefully these guys are going to be working with the same spotter all year, and it's a great opportunity to come out and not only work with a team for the first time in a lot of instances, but you got to work with your spotter and you know, go from here. And I see a lot of drivers that are making their first start here, and I'm anxious to see how they turn out.
Let's find out more about some of the young front runners to pit road and Dylan Welch.
Zane Smith was talking before the race about how he wanted to just get out front and lead every single lap of this race, and he's done that so far. He's led from the start, led all 16 of them. Max Tolman there in the second spot. Not only does he have a veteran spotter like we talked about, he's got Tyler Green, who spots for Jamie McMurray up top. He's got Doug Richard as crew chief, who led Dale Earnhardt Sr. to a championship in 1980, and he's also been talking with Todd Bodine, who has many laps here at Daytona throughout this weekend. After every session, he'll get on the phone with Todd, and they just talk about the nuances of the track, the nuances of the draft, just to help speed up Max's learning curve that much more.
Good stuff in the early going. Lap traffic playing a factor right now. Zane Smith working around Andrew Belmont. Smith out in front at Daytona International. The green flag drops on Speed Weeks as a new season of NASCAR kicks off. It all begins tomorrow with Daytona 500 qualifying. Noon Eastern on Fox. Then it's the Clash at Daytona here on FS1, or stream it all live on Fox Sports Go. Great to have racing back. We had Cup practice and Clash practice today. We'll get the front row set tomorrow for the Daytona 500 and a race as well. We've got racing here today in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, and more on Riley Herbst downstairs with Jim Trado.
Well, Lost Energy Toyota is out of the draft on purpose because the temperatures are rising, water and oil, to the point where he said, guys, I don't think I like I see it on the gauges. They said, get out of the line. His spotter, Chris Lambert, who does Denny Hamlin's work on Sundays, said, this is the best move, guys. Let's get somewhere clean, somewhere clear, away from the draft to get that engine cooled down with fresh air to the nose of that Toyota.
Remember, these are fuel-injected engines. If that engine gets too hot, that engine will actually retard and lose a bunch of horsepower. So I think it's a good move to try to get some fresh air there and keep that engine cooled off a little bit.
Especially early in the race, you know that we're going to have to come and make pit stops, and the field's going to get you know, back together.
You can see Riley inside the car messing with switches, probably turning the radiator fan on to try to cool that off a little bit, although at these speeds the radiator fan doesn't do a whole lot. But
there's only so much you can do as a driver when you have an overheating problem. You don't want to damage the motor, but you know, coming in during green flag is really going to hurt your chances of winning.
We've talked about the experienced drivers and also a lot of young drivers, some making their first start. Two of them really at the opposite ends are running at 16th and 17th. Bobby Gerhardt, the 8-time winner here, and that's Grant Quinlan, 19-year-old, in his first ARCA start in the 30 car there for International Tool and Mold, getting together just a little bit.
Yeah, the ARCA officials do not want you to do any bump drafting in the corners. They allow it on the straightaways. And right now, Grant is just really trying to help Bobby Gerhardt. He's not trying to hurt him. He's trying to help him to get by that car in front of him. I believe that might have been Brett Holmes. But that's something you don't want to do, is feel a little bit of a bump in the center of the corner.
Especially to the left side of the bumper. It can really get you sideways.
And a smoker, that's Ronnie Osmer in the 99, a second car for Thomas Prater, and that brings out our first caution. And then we've got more problems in turn number 4. Andy Seiss has gone around in the 02 car.
That's the 52 of Will Rogers right there in front of your screen. The Dryden car, that's the same car that Austin won the championship with last year.
Oh, and he was having such a good run. He had moved up about 15 spots. Cody Robaugh in the number 7 Grant County Mulch car as well. There's the 99. Osmer we saw first. There's Robaugh rolling on pit road. There's Seiss, who had that runner-up finish at Talladega last year. And then Will Rogers in the Dryden Ford for Ken Schrader Racing. Also significant damage as Robaugh drives straight back to the garage.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether those cars got in the oil from the 99 or whether they maybe somebody jumped out of the gas to avoid the 99. Let's see what happens here. That's the leaders going by that 99. You see the 27 of Travis Braden go down on the inside.
There's Robaugh up above him, and he gets by. And that 52 car.
Andy Seiss actually looks like he was coming down to try to get back in line on the bottom, and they may have made contact there. That's where they've already got into each other.
So something happened after they got by the 99.
Yeah, and I think Will Rogers in the 52 was just an innocent victim there with nowhere to go.
2 cars going for the same real estate.
Let's see if we can see anything on board with Gus Dean.
Watch Andy Seiss in the 02 as they get by this 99 car.
There you go. There's the first contact.
Yeah, it didn't look like Andy knew that the car was beneath him. Kept coming down. They made contact.
We'll have to check the left and right front for Gus Dean, too. He might have taken a little bit. This is Travis Braden, the 27 we saw had to dodge that slow car.
You can't go below the double yellow line to improve your position, but you certainly can to avoid. Look at the damaged left front tire, tore that fender off that 32 Gree car.
So here they come down pit road under caution. We start with Dillon.
And Max Tolman has been just happy to ride. Both of his crew chief and his spotter, Tyler Green, telling him he's doing a great job. Just content to ride right now and follow that bottom of line around. Zane Smith, fuel only for him as well as he's down and away. Jim Trado.
Fuel only for our pole sitter, Natalie Decker, who stayed according to plan on the inside line, rode third to this point in the race. Fuel only. They got the grill wiped off. Now there's a delay. They want to get the second can plugged in to give her the most fuel for perhaps one more stop at their discretion late in the going.
And Zane Smith made some contact with Bobby Gerhardt on pit road. Let's watch again.
See, that's the crew chief's job for the 41 of Zane Smith, to know who's pitting around you. He knew that Bobby Gerhardt was coming in the pits, and he sent Zane in the 41. Bobby had to turn down in his pits. That's a tough break there.
So this shakes everything up. Zane Smith has dominated this race. Does he have damage? He's not going to have the lead. We go back to Green from Daytona International in ARCA. Daytona International, it's the Lucas Oil 200 driven by General Tire. And we are under caution for the first time for a multi-car incident. Sheldon Creed is at the front. Our leader, Phil, was Zane Smith.
Yeah, let's see if we can holler at Zane. Hey, Zane Smith, Phil Parsons and the boys up in the FS1 booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Zane, that car looks awfully strong. Came down pit road, had a bit of an issue there. You have any damage from that contact with Bobby Gerhardt?
No, I didn't have any problems there. The beginning race was pretty good for us with the fuel, and now we're leading, so we're looking pretty good.
How does that car handle? This is the first time that we really had the cars out on some really big packs. Car looks like it's driving pretty good.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time getting you there. What'd you say?
Said this is the first time that we've had cars in such a big pack, but it looks like your car's driving really well.
Yeah, pretty happy with it. The guys back at MDM have worked really hard on it, so man, hopefully we can make it on field. We keep shutting it off here, trying to save, and
I don't know. If we make it, we have a good shot out of here.
All right, buddy, finish it off.
Okay.
That's a good point. That caution did come a little earlier than everyone would have wanted to try to do this on one stop.
Yeah, our pit run was somewhere between 50-55 laps, and the caution came out with about 55 laps to go. Now, these caution laps is certainly helping, as Zane was talking about. He's shutting the engine off, and I was talking to some of the crew chiefs, and if you just let them idle, you know, they're going to not use near as much fuel, obviously, if they were running. So this is going to buy them a little bit of insurance. So more than likely, this is going to probably get most of the guys in their window where they can make it to the end, unless we have an overtime, which often happens.
So Zane Smith now back in 9th position in the La Paz Margarita Mix Toyota for MDM Motorsports. And Sheldon Creed up front in another MDM Motorsports Toyota with United Rentals sponsorship. Max Tolman running in 2nd, Michael Self, then Quinn Houff. So this is the first of a series and a championship within a championship. It's the General Tire Super Speedway Challenge. 9 races this year on 8 different tracks, and double points races like this that are sponsored by General Tire.
Why don't we talk to the guy that won that challenge last year?
Can we find him?
Well, we might be able to find him.
Let's go find him. Yeah, fortunately for us, we won the award last year, and look at those races. I mean, Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, excited to watch that race coming up. A bunch of different unique racetracks, and I mean, that it's going to test the guys. I mean, they have to be good at all these different racetracks, and looking forward to seeing who comes out on top.
And General Tire does so much for this series. It's really nice to win an award that they're a part of.
Absolutely. They do a lot for the series, and fortunate to have them.
Well, we've got a moment. Austin, tell us about what you're working on for 2018.
Well, I'm excited. We, obviously we won the championship last year, and my goal from the start's always to been go back and try to race in NASCAR again. 2015, put a hamper on that, but great last year, and just looking for different opportunities in the Truck Series and even the Xfinity Series, and hopefully things come together. Would like to race at Daytona, but I mean, anything that comes up, I'm going to take a look at it and try to put something together for later on in the year.
You had some great runs in Brad Keselowski's truck 2 or 3 years ago, especially here at this race. Had a top 5 finish here.
Absolutely, I always love Daytona. It's a fun track, and so much can definitely happen during the race. But have a lot of good feelings when I come here.
Jim, you talked about problems earlier for Riley Herbst. He was just in again.
Well, the discussion between Shannon Rutch, his crew chief from last year, and new crew chief Booty Barker, they said, you know what, let's bring it in one more time, top it off with fuel. Their discussion prior to this second pit stop under caution was they might have been about a dozen laps short on fuel. Now with this extended caution, they are close to their window. They thought, let's give up that track position. Riley, come on back in, top it off with fuel. They might not see pit road again today.
I think that makes sense for anybody that was near the back of the line.
Yeah, Leilani Munter also came in too and topped off, so they should be good to go. There's Leilani right there in the BigandStrong.com Toyota. She did a nice job early in that race, just got down in line, ran up in the top 5 till that caution flag came out.
She was running in the top 5 that entire first stint. Has a little bit of work to do to make her way back up there to the front. We're going to go green again, this time by with a new leader. Sheldon Creed, who led a lot of laps last year. He's won in just about every kind of race car. He's been knocking on the door in ARCA. Max Tolman in his debut. Michael Self, who won the finale last year. Quinn Houff, who we saw here at Daytona last year. And Travis Braid in the top 5. The pole sitter, Natalie Decker, is still right there, restarting in 6th position.
We have teammates lining up on the outside row, Tolman and Houff for Mason Mitchell Motorsports.
Let's watch to see if the guys that were lagging back are going to turn up the heat here.
Pace car is off. Creed controls the restart. Tolman on the high side. And we're going again at Daytona. Creed in the white car is going to get the push on the bottom line and try to nose in front.
Let's see if Natalie can pull up there and help that outside line. Looks like Creed may even be out front by too far. Let's see what kind of momentum that out. Look at Tolman and the 78 on the outside.
Around Michael Self back into 2nd position. That's Braden in the 27 as Self inches ahead once again.
Good shot of Quinn Houff right there, the 98 car.
And that's on board with Braden. There's Noah Gregson in the 54 switch car. And Sean Corr is in the top 10, running in 8th position now in the 43 car for Empire Racing.
Sean's a former pole sitter for this race, as well as a top 5 finish under his belt here at this racetrack.
Here's Tom Hessert, who we talked to earlier in the 55 Venturini Toyota. Up on the high side, Zane Smith, who dominated early, is on the bottom side. He's still in 9th position, so he hasn't been able to make up any spots since the restart. And here's Tolman on the high side by side, nosing in front of Creed.
It almost looks like these cars are jumping around a little bit more than they did before.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the outside make some success, and it's all about the quality of cars on the outside lane. And if these guys from 5th on back want to win this race, they're going to have to learn how to make the outside run.
On board with Natalie Decker on the top side right now in 7th position.
You hear her playing with the throttle a little bit. It's not just a simple matter of holding that thing wide open. You have to manage that throttle. Who contact right there in front of her with the 15 of Michael Self and the 98 of Hauff.
Austin, for a young racer, what's the pulse like right now?
It's pretty high. It's pretty high. You know, a lot of these young drivers watch the Daytona 500 tapes, and they watch the side drafting, and I think they try to you know, replicate. But I tell you, it comes from years of experience, and you just saw in the trial here, contact, that it's a fine line between causing a wreck and, you know, using the air to your benefit.
Natalie has not raced here in the Super Speedway, but she said she came here when she was 10 years old and raced in the big go-kart race, the WKA race, right after Christmas.
That's a good view of these cars. You can see them moving around. It's not simply a matter of holding the steering wheel steady. You have to drive these things down the straightaways as well.
Max Tolman, in his ARCA debut, remains out front in the 78 for Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Zumi is the sponsor. It's a Chevrolet. Here comes Creed pushing up behind. Hauff and Michael Self in the Sinclair car side by side for 3rd and 4th. Let's check in with Dylan.
Well, and we've already talked about how good of a job Max Tolman has done running up front here in his Daytona debut. Tyler Green, when he was in the process of taking that lead, coached him all the way around the racetrack, told him when to get up alongside the Michael Self car and try and suck the air off of the side of that car, doing a great job leading his young driver around this racetrack and ultimately into the lead.
I think this one is starting to get good, boys.
What happened to that single file line we had there before the caution?
Well, you're just riding around for a little while, but it's only an 80-lap race. We're nearing the midpoint. It's just about time to go. Max Tolman is in front, 20 years old, from Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. We were on board with Natalie Decker just a moment ago. She's still running in the top 6 or 7 positions. Tom Hessert right behind her, and this is just a moment ago. How much of a wiggle do we see? Whoa.
It didn't look like much from outside that car, but believe me, she got busy in there.
I'm guessing that feels a little bit different. Here's the onboard look. So Natalie Decker, the pole sitter, runs in 6th. Everyone chasing Max Tolman right now. The season opener for the ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards from Daytona. From Daytona with Phil Parsons, last year's champ Austin Theriault. I'm Kevin Lee, Dylan Welch, Jim Trado on pit road. Max Tolman continues to lead single file for the first 5 or 6, and then look at him bumping and banging. We've seen as much as 3 wide there in the middle of that pack.
I wasn't sure that we were going to get back from commercial without the caution flag being out.
And contact a moment ago with Riley Herbst and Mark Thompson making his 100th career start. He's also going to start in the Daytona 500.
I don't think I've ever seen so much contact without a wreck.
Yeah, and these cars are pretty durable, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Remember, these are composite cars, first time ever here at Daytona.
You see, they build them for downforce, but when you come to Daytona and Talladega, the goal is to take all the downforce away from it, makes them go faster. So when the cars are sideways in the corner, that just means that they're, you know, there's no downforce to lean on.
Here's Gus Dean, who we saw take some damage on that left front, and he still is missing a good piece of that race car, but he has recovered nicely to get back within range, running in 17th position with pretty significant damage right behind Leilani Mooner, who also came in and topped off. She's picked up about 12 or 13 spots since the restart.
Yeah, Gus is doing a great job with that damaged car. Aerodynamics are so important here, and here he is hanging with the lead pack with that damaged car. And
he's won a super speedway race. He won at Talladega with Mason Mitchell Motorsports a couple of years ago.
There's Leilani as we ride along with her. You mentioned that she was in the top 5 here late in the race last year, about 15 laps to go, and got taken out in an incident not of her making that kept her from having a great finish.
There are still a lot of players in this race.
And a lot of time left. We're just halfway.
There's the look up front again with Tolman, Creed, Self, Braden in 4th. Noah Gregson has worked his way up to 5th. There's Zane Smith, who dominated early in the black and yellow 41 in 6th. Sean Corr in 7th. Quinn Houff is up in the top 3 or 4 for a while. He's back in 8th, and we've got a smoker and a caution for Grant Quinlan in the 30 car. Is that a tire rub?
Looks like an engine. Looks like an awful lot of smoke there.
Yeah, it's a lot of smoke.
Tough break for that young Canadian. This will give these guys an opportunity to come down pit road if they need it. I think this is going to be enough insurance to get them in their window to keep the track position, stay on the racetrack. But you never will know. You can go multiple laps in overtime too. But I think we may have a mix. If I'm towards the back of this lead group, I'm going to come in, top it off. Maybe even put right side tires on. They say these journal tires aren't even wearing any. They don't think they need to change tires, but just as a precaution, maybe put some tires on it, dump a little fuel in it. But if I'm up front, Austin, I think I stay there.
Absolutely, stay out. Track position's key.
We still got an awful lot of cars on the lead lap, though. What about 30 cars on the lead lap? So that's a lot of track position to go back and try to make that up in less than 40 laps. So we'll see if we have any takers here for our second caution of the day.
Pit road will be open this time. The green light is out. Certainly don't want to make any mistakes. You don't want to speed up pit road if you come down pit road. You don't want to give up whatever track position you might have by coming off pit road after making a mistake.
This is where giving up a second is better than having to come in again to do to do a penalty stop. Especially as a young driver or rookie that's never done this before, it's way better to give up time than to have to come in and make a penalty stop.
We all know that, but it's challenging, I'm assuming, to stay that disciplined because you're trying to pick up every inch that you can.
Let's watch and see who comes in. Looks like Michael Self is down below the double yellow line. Looks like he may be headed to pit road.
The leader faked it. No, he's coming. There's the leader, Tolman, coming down. Michael Self also comes with him. So Creed and Braden and Gregson all stay out. Let's go to Dylan.
And Max Tolman, a little bit of miscommunication. He jumped over his pit box again. They backed him back up, putting fuel in. They wanted him to stay out, but I don't think he was able to miss the commitment cone. He stalled it a little bit on exit. They're still trying to get the Max Tolman car rolling. Jim Trado.
They told the driver don't slide the tires on the 15, so Self eased on into his pit box and overshot it. Fuel only is the call, but valuable time lost here with his Venturini Motorsports team. Crew chief Kevin Reed went to victory lane in 2013. This is a fast race car. He's trying to go back with driver Michael Self, but that may set them back a few spots as a lot of cars taking fuel only here on pit road.
Yeah, no doubt. Michael Self lost some track position here. Let's watch again.
And Michael Self is one of the more experienced drivers in the field. A lot of experience in the K&N series. You see him block up the tires, get very, very close to the inside pit wall. He's a full pit in front of his pit here as he backs up into his pit. Max Tolman, the 78 car, now he backs past his pit. Look how much time he's losing right there.
Luckily under caution, but he still probably lost 8 to 10 car positions in the line. So Max Tolman was up front. He elects to pit. Sheldon Creed stays out, and he leads past the midway point. Another restart from Daytona is coming up on FS1. Under caution number 2 at Daytona International for the ARCA Racing Series opener, and it's time for our Protect Plus mid-race recap. Off the start, Natalie Decker in the white 25. On the pole, Zane Smith, the black and yellow 41, grabbed the lead and dominated the early portion of this race.
Yeah, led the first 24 laps till the caution came out, and then it came out because of the 99 right here. Randy Osmer blows an engine and then causes an incident as those guys try to get around him. You see the 02 Andy Sykes, Cody Roball with a 7, Will Rogers in the 52, and there's Gus Dean with the 32, but he's made repairs and remained on the lead lap.
Rogers, though, has not been able to get back out there. Same for Cody Robaugh. Riley Herbst has had some overheating problems, we understand. And then some contact on pit road. for the driver who had dominated the race.
He made a little bit of contact with Bobby Gerhardt. It cost him some positions, but he never came back down pit road on that caution, so no damage to that car.
And Zane Smith is right back in it. He'll restart in 4th position. Sheldon Creed is the leader. He led the last restart, and he's stayed up front. Travis Braden second, then Noah Gregson, Zane Smith, and Sean Corr, and the pole sitter is on pit road again. Jim?
Yeah, they did not get enough fuel in on that stop. I saw the calculation going on with the crew chief, and just like Riley Herbst pounded his steering wheel a moment ago on Fox Sports 1, crew chief Dave Liner did the same to his clipboard, and he said, we got to bring her back in to top it off.
Yeah, better be safe than sorry. Better make sure she's got enough fuel to get to the end. I'll leave it up to her to try to get towards the front of the pack here, but you don't want to leave her out there and let her run out of gas for sure.
Let's check in with Jim again.
Yeah, it is a tire change for the 15, the Sinclair Toyota of Michael Self. That car, as he slid in, he said, I had a soft pedal, guys, sorry. They noticed that he slid the tires. They said, we need to come back in and get 4 fresh General tires on. So he's got 4 tires on, and I just ran down the 18 car, Riley Herbst. He's made 2 pit stops in a prior pit stop cycle. He also took 4 tires on his first stop, topped it off the fuel. So this young man has 4 tires. I believe the only other car on my end of pit road that's changed tires is the 18 of Riley Herbst. Dylan?
Well, for Max Tolman, who came in as the leader, he slid through his box. There was a little bit of miscommunication at the start there of whether they wanted to come in or not. Crew chief Doug Richert and Tyler Green were talking, and Max was down there below the commitment line, and by the time they decided to stay out, it was too late, so he had to come down, and then he almost missed his box, slid past it just a little bit. They had to back him up. Then they just put fuel in it, and as he pulled away, it started to stall and chug kind of away from the pit box. So a little bit of a cluster there for Max, but his crew's doing a good job. Doug and spotter Tyler Green pumping him up, telling him they've got a good car. They're just going to have to drive through everybody now.
So we've got some fast cars coming from the middle and even further back. Michael Self is going to restart in the 29th position. Natalie Decker is going to be back there. Tolman in 16th. And then up front with 1 to go, it's Sheldon Creed, Travis Braden, Noah Gregson, Zane Smith, Sean Corr, Quinn Houff, Chase Purdy, Brett Holmes, John Ferrier, and Mark Thompson in the top 10 right now. Mark Thompson's a former ARCA winner.
This is his 100th ARCA start here. A lot of success at Daytona and Talladega for Mark Thompson over the years.
On board with Natalie Decker in the N29 Capital Partners camera.
She has her work cut out for her now.
Yep.
Be restarting about the 29th spot.
If Riley Herbst's car is right, can he get back to the front from 14th?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got some good cars around him too. Tom Hessert's going to line up right behind him.
Austin Terrio is with us in the booth. There's a look at Gus Dean. How does that damage on that left front affect the handling of that car?
Quite a bit. Fortunately, we're at Daytona, so what he has to do is just follow behind the cars in front of him. They'll, bust a huge hole, and he can realistically take home a top 10, top 15 if he stays out of trouble.
That's the Gree on board, side by side with Leilani Munzer, and then on board with the VeganStrong.com camera.
Leilani's running just outside the top 10 right now in the 11th spot. Again, doing a nice job here.
She was selling me on the Impossible Burger today. I'm going to give that a try. It's going to be available here all throughout Speed Weeks. Here's the General Tire on board with Travis Braden, who's going to restart in 2nd position. And we're about to do that. 35 to go in the opener at Daytona. The first stock car race of the season. The long winter is over, and it is about to get really good. Creed on the bottom side. Braden on the top side, back up through the gears, and back to green at Daytona with Noah Gregson giving a good push on the bottom side.
A lot of experience there pushing Noah Gregson. He's a young driver, but got so much great experience driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports last year in the Truck Series. Sheldon Creed has a good pusher right now driving for David Gilliland Racing.
Look at the front two jump away, Austin.
They have to be careful. Huge gap behind him.
Get too far ahead,
Absolutely,
right?
too far ahead, and the guys behind him are going to come up with a run, possibly pass them on the outside.
Sean Corr right now holds down the 3rd spot in that 43 car for Empire Racing, side by side with Travis Braden in the 27.
I think that's Chase Purdy right behind Corr in that red Bama Buggies car. It is. And he's taking a peek below and going below that double yellow line. You can't pass going below there.
He had a lane for a moment, then Sean Corr closed it up. Ooh.
And a big crash, spinning, turning, the 33 of Daniel Sasnett. Caution number 3 at Daytona.
Big impact.
Hey, Daniel was running in the 26th position. Here's the 22 also, Ed Pompa. Ed was running back in 30th.
Pompa driving for Andy Hillenberg's team with owner's points from Chad Bryant, the former Cunningham team.
There's a second generation ARCA racer, Andrew Belmont. His dad Andy had so much success here in the series years ago. First start here at Daytona for Andrew with some damage.
And there's Pompa driving the 22 car.
There's Andrew Belmont driving away. Doesn't appear to be a great deal of damage to that mod space car.
So Creed was the leader with Gregson, Braden, Zane Smith, and Sean Corr.
Creed and Gregson worked so well together to get out that big lead, but now remember they're going to be split up because when they have this restart they're going to start side by side.
So who leads may be determined by Travis Braden and Zane Smith.
Yeah, and if I'm Creed, I know Zane Smith is my teammate, so I'm going to restart this race from the outside because I know I have my teammate Zane Smith in the 41 pushing me.
And there's the 33 go around, Daniel Sasnett, making his first ARCA start. He's a former Richard Petty driving experience instructor who's getting an opportunity here in the second car for Wintron Racing.
He's a teammate to Gus Dean. See a lot of damage to the front of that car. Ed Pompa crawls out of the 22. One of Andy Hillenberg's entries.
You know, the trial was not that wide at Daytona, so it seems like every year we see large wrecks, and most times it's just guys run out of space.
Yeah, there's Daniel Sasnett getting out of his car. That's a good sign right there.
We never saw a great look at it, but it looked like a pretty heavy impact. So good to see that Daniel Sasnett is out, and let's go back and try to find out what happened.
Looks like they just get seized up. Looks like the 63 of Dave Mater III gets into the back of the 33 and turns him around. That's what's going to send him to the outside wall. They just kind of got bottled up a little bit on the inside, it looked like. And the farther back you go, the less time you have to react.
On board with Natalie Decker.
Whoa.
Checked up.
Amazing. What a great job she did. You could hear her get out of the throttle. She had hardly any time to react.
That's impressive.
It certainly was. Pretty hard contact with the outside safer barrier for Sasnett.
And what we saw from Natalie Decker, who's had a fast car, that's the detriment. That's one of the things that happens when you fall further back in the field. Running in the 20, she's 22nd right now.
Yeah, these guys were trying to avoid her as they got by the incident. You see a lot of damage to Ed Pompa's car as he makes contact with Andrew Belmont.
Let's check in with Dylan. The 41 is on pit road.
Yeah, and they had a right rear tire going down, so they opted to come in and change all four and add fuel. The car's still driving okay for Zane. He's doing a nice job just riding right now and holding on to what was the fourth spot, but 4 tires and fuel down and away.
Well, he's worked his way back up a couple of times. Remember late last year, either Kentucky or Kansas, he was up front, fell to the back, got all the way back up to the front. So don't count out Zane Smith yet. Caution. Daniel Sasnett goes spinning, others involved as well. Another restart is coming up from Daytona. Getting closer to restarting here in ARCA from Daytona, with still much to be determined and still probably a dozen plus fast cars in contention, led by Sheldon Creed and Noah Gregson restarting on the front row.
I really have my eye on this 54 of Noah Gregson. This is David Gillen racing. It's actually a team co-owned by David Gillen and Bo Lamastis, and Bo is driving for somebody else, driving for Chad Bryan here, but they formed this team. They're also going to run the truck series. Bo's going to drive the truck next week, but they're going to have to compete against this young man right here, the 54 of Noah Gragson. He is really poised to go for that championship. He's going to be paired with Rudy Fugle, who has so much success in the Truck Series. He's been a part of either the owner and or driver championship for the last 5 years. Rudy's one of the best minds on pit road, and they're going to be paired together with Kyle Busch Motorsports.
And next week we'll have a feature on that coming up, so stay with us for that.
Taking it year by year, trying to win as many races as I can in the 2018 season. I don't have a 5-year plan, as some people call it, but the wins are gonna come. Hopefully the championship comes, and then hopefully I can move up into the higher series like the Xfinity Series, and then it's kind of a restart process, and then ultimately, hopefully we can make it up to the top.
We've gotten it started here at Daytona this weekend, and we really get going leading up to the Daytona 500 next weekend. Phil will be part of the broadcast for the Camping World Truck Series. Practice starting on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll have 3 practices on Thursday, and then qualifying, race day, and the 250 miler here. Noah Gragson, you saw him standing in front of a grandfather clock. That means he won the race at Martinsville, and he won that grandfather clock.
And he's trying to get his first ARCA win here. Let's find out more what's happening from Jim.
Well, the drivers told me before the race this is the happiest he's been at a racetrack. This team, built by David Gilliland Racing 4 years ago to go late model racing, has brought on Crosley, the company, to help them with this development team. Gragson jumped in this car. He said, the first time I sat in it, I knew it was the best opportunity I had to win. His teammate right now on the racetrack is the number 28 of Sheldon Creed. Those crew chiefs have conferred. The crew chief on the 28, Jeff Stankiewicz, came down a moment ago and talked to the crew chief on the 54, Chris Lawson, who's been here for every day that David Gilliland Racing has been in existence. They put this car together. The strategy now is the 28 is going to restart the race on the outside. The 54 of Noah Gragson is going to let him in. And Lauren Renier, the spotter on the 28, convinced his driver, Sheldon Creed. He said, Noah Gragson in that 54 has the best car to push us. Our best chance to win is he's going to let us in on the bottom. If this all goes to plan, that's the discussion anyway. If he lets us in on the bottom, we're going to hopefully connect and check out on the rest of the field. So we'll see how that plays out. But Gragson, again, one of the contenders throughout the race. The 28 team and their veteran spotter, Lauren Renier, noticing that is their best chance, and they've conferred now. So the 28 may get the lead back, but he'll have to start on the outside according to the plan just made here on pit road.
Real quick, how do our drivers feel about letting somebody in? You okay with that?
I've done it before here.
Okay.
But you have to make sure that they follow through, because it's one thing to plan, it's another thing to execute.
So we'll see how that plays out when we get going here in just a moment. Cleanup is just about done. We'll start racing again from Daytona with Sheldon Creed and Noah Gragson. Caution number 3 from Daytona in ARCA is about to come to a close. In the last caution, Ed Pompa and Daniel Sasnett were among those involved. They have been checked, cleared, and released from the infield care center. We'll go green this time around. Thanks for joining us tonight as daytime moves to dusk at Daytona International Speedway. The pace car is about to pull off, and we are going to go green with less than 25 laps to go in the biggest race of the season for the ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards in the first stock car race of 2018. Gragson on the bottom side. He's going to let Creed go by. He'll grab the lead as they go through the speedy drive. Watch that top side and see what kind of push Chase Purdy has there in the red car for Sean Corr in the 43.
Remember, a lot of experience Sean Corr has here at this racetrack.
Wow, they're hooked up.
Chase Purdy doing a nice job right on his rear bumper.
And Sean Corr leads at Daytona for Empire Racing. But Purdy looks to have the quickest car right now. He's trying to go around the high side. Creed will give Corr a push. Gragson is still right there. And now Purdy is all by himself, and he'll slide back.
Purdy has some help coming. Looks like maybe Brett Holmes, the 23 car on the outside, pulls up behind Purdy.
Purdy tried to pass on the outside, and that would have worked out if he would have stayed single file.
And it's Sean Corr leading the lap at the line.
I think those guys, with that plan of letting Creed get down in front of him, slowed their momentum enough that gave that outside line that momentum, and that's what put Sean Corr out front. Plus a great push by Purdy.
And here comes Purdy again on that top side. And now he's got some friends to help him.
And Brett Holmes doing a nice job racing his way up in here, just knocking out the door of the top 5 in that 23 blue and white car.
He was one of our rookie contenders, 3rd in this Scott Rookie Challenge. And there's damage. That was last year for Natalie Decker. Big time damage on the left front. And we've got debris that is going to cause a caution. What happened to Natalie Decker? The pole sitter is in trouble. Let's look back to the restart.
See right behind Max Tolman. You see Max is going to run into the back of Bobby Gerhardt. Natalie's going to do the same thing, the accordion effect, and look how much damage it did to Natalie's car.
2 big-time contenders. Tolman was restarting 20th, Decker in 21st.
They just didn't go.
And they're a lot faster than everyone right in front of them. And we do stay green. So the debris obviously didn't stay on the racetrack. It blew off. And that's why it's safe to continue. Now, what kind of damage will Natalie Decker have to her car? We've seen Gus Dean with some damage. He's still running in the top 10. Austin, what do you think? How is Decker going to be impacted by this?
Well, I think she has to make sure that the tires look like they're clear. Just hope for a caution. Come in and service the car and hope for a top 10 finish. But I'd say her chances of winning tonight are getting hurt right now.
And if that fender flies off and stays anywhere on the racetrack, that will bring out a caution flag. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see the ARCA officials take a look at that and not take that chance and bring her to pit road.
So she's lost the draft right now, running in 20th position. Meanwhile, up front, it's still Sean Corr in the 43 car for Empire Racing, 33 years old, from Goshen, New York. 20-year-old Sheldon Creed is second. 19-year-old Noah Gregson is running in 3rd position. You saw on the bottom line Will Rogers, who was involved in heavy contact, back out many laps down, but getting a few more laps of experience here.
2 distinct lines here. You see that outside line trying to get a little bit of energy going here. You see him pull over and side draft. You see the aid of Chase Purdy side drafting on the 27 of Travis Braden.
Purdy in the 8 car in front of the top line, with Holmes pushing him.
Then Hauff, the 98 behind Holmes.
He's been fast.
Then John Ferrier, the 46, another car out of Empire Motorsports. And how about Moose Prater, the 9 car? Thomas Prater having a great run here, running up in the top 15.
And he's been in the top 10 at times today, running in 12th right there. We saw Riley Herb still in contention. There's Prater in the number 9 DK Lock car.
There's a Crosley car, Bola Masters running the 77 right behind Riley Herbst. Those guys just outside the top 10.
So we see the 32 Gree car of Gus Dean, who took damage earlier. Tell us what you know, Dylan.
You can see the hood is flapping pretty badly, or starting to, on that 32 car. Gus said that the car is still driving fine. He obviously has to be in the draft, doesn't want to lose the draft in general, but especially with that damage, he's really got to be tucked up under the back of the car that's in front of him. So that's been really the only issue so far, is just making sure that they stay in the draft, but the car itself is still driving straight. So no problems, at least preliminarily, for Gus Dean. Let's go to Jim.
Natalie Decker, the other car on the racetrack, missing most of her left front fender on her Venturini Motorsports Toyota. Had reported she smelled some fiberglass, but that smell has gone away. They're worried about that car and the fender. When she smelled the fiberglass, it did have a fender rub on the top of the tire where the hood would meet the top of the fender. That's now gone, so the tire is clear of that debris. Spotter Eddie DeHunt was very specific, saying this is where the damage may be from. Now the wheel is clear. Let's keep her on the racetrack.
You can see where that fender is pulled back on the side. That was also dragging, may even still be dragging the racetrack. That could be where the fiberglass smell she has coming from.
She's running the full season, so running for points, and also one of the 4 Scott Rookie Challenge contenders running the entire season. So she'll want to get what she can out of this one.
I think it's a good call to keep her on the racetrack. She's in the same straightaway as the leaders, and we just got to hope for a caution.
Yeah, she gets a caution for her to come and then pull that fender off and patch that thing up a little bit, and she'll be in the same situation that Gus Dean's in. And Gus is doing an amazing job hanging on with that damaged car.
And when you watch this little pack from about 6th to 15th, seems like the odds of a caution are fairly strong.
Whoa, whoa. Right there.
Whoa, Gus Dean trying to hang on to it.
That's going to split this pack up a little bit. You see Riley Herbst going by on the inside. Quinn Houff now on the outside. That's Ferrier in the 46 car. That may cost this group the draft.
They've got some work to do to catch up to the lead pack.
Well, there we go.
Huge wreck.
Core, Houff, Lemastus, and Doza all involved. Semi-big one here at Daytona. Caution number 4.
The 98 of Houff just didn't give him enough room.
Guys, we saw that coming from miles away.
Yeah, three-quarters of a lap before that anyway. It's going to be a break for Natalie Decker, but what a tough break for Brian Doza. He was doing a nice job staying up there running in the lead pack.
And I might have said Core, but that was John Ferrier, his teammate, that was involved there. Core is still the leader, and he's fine. So that's Ferrier that was involved in the 46 for Empire Racing. That's Doza there in the OB Builders Chevrolet. There's the 46. That's Ferrier.
Been so impressed with the resilience of these 5-star bodies, these composite bodies.
They can only take so much.
Yeah, they've been some hard hits here. You see the damage to Chad Bryant's number 77, driven by Bo Lemastus. See the right side damage.
Tough ending for them.
Yeah.
He finished 6th here a couple of years ago at Daytona. Let's go back and see how this started. We'd earlier seen a big wiggle for Gus Dean.
There's going to be contact. Gus is going to make contact with the 8 right there. They make contact, and that slows the entire field up now. See, now that puts them 3 wide. And as we did, they're going to go by the start finish line, and then we get down to turn number 1. The 98 of Houff is trying to go around the outside of Dean in the 32, and we get down to the corner, and he just doesn't give him any room. He turns in the corner like he's not there and squeezes him, and that's what causes this melee. Tom Hessert very fortunate, along with Michael Self, to get by on the inside.
So I think Gus Dean got out of that. He's still shown in 10th position.
There's another view of that initial contact between Gus Dean and the 8 of Chase Purdy. Houff does a nice job avoiding the 32 of Dean right there, but they get down in the corner. Watch him squeeze right here, guys.
Just not enough room. And once the cars get attached, it's over.
See Leilani, watch her in the green car. She's going to make evasive action. You see the green and white car go by Michael Self. That was Tom Hessert above Michael Self. Leilani does a nice job driving by before they come down off the banks. Bobby Gerhardt getting through.
And here's Gus Dean's on board, and watch him squeeze through this. More damage possibly now to the right front of his car.
Thomas Prater getting by on the outside with that 9 car.
So this works out for some that have been quick, like Zane Smith, who's lost all kinds of track position. Maybe he still has life running in 17th.
Yeah, Tom Hessert, Michael Self, who would drop back a little ways. Now they're back up in the top 15. Natalie Decker is able to make a pit stop and work on her car. Look at all the damage to that 77 of Bo Lemastus.
Pit road is closed, but significant damage for Lemastus, so he'll come in and do the work. So caution number 4, another restart coming, and Sean Core is the leader of the ARCA race at Daytona. Stay with us on FS1. For the ARCA opener with Austin Terrio, Phil Parsons, and Kevin Lee, Dylan Welch, and Jim Trado on pit road. Jim.
Bear bond is going on aplenty on the left front fender of Natalie Decker's Toyota. She wanted to come to pit road sooner. However, pit procedures are such that the pit was closed and she was given the free pass. So that was another lap under caution around the racetrack before she could come in. They taped the top of the fender very well, but they're taking extra time now to build the left front nose where your directional or your headlight would be on your passenger car, to get that built, because there's nothing to build on, just the hood itself and the very front leading edge of the nose.
critical right now for Natalie Decker, just to give her a solid race car, get more experience. Chance to win, probably gone away, but you can still get a pretty good finish here.
Oh, without a doubt. We've seen Gus Dean actually do a nice job with all the damage, but there has to be something behind that barrier bond. That barrier bond itself is not going to hold that air off, but maybe they have enough material behind that to keep its integrity.
Well, this is race number 1 of 2018 and one of the more diverse schedules in motorsport. Here is what's to come. Little time off before they go to the fairgrounds in Nashville, then another short track in Salem, and our next event on FS1 coming up, another super speedway at Talladega in late April.
Yeah, we talk about the diversity of this schedule. They don't have a road race this year, but last year they had a road race, dirt races, short tracks, super speedways, intermediate tracks, and this guy beside me won on every type of a racetrack that they had last year.
I think he's pretty good.
What an amazing schedule. Daytona, Talladega to the dirt track, back to Charlotte for the first time in a while. It's going to be an exciting year.
That's Austin Terrio, the 2017 ARCA champion.
Back to Gateway as well, that 1.25 mile racetrack.
Absolutely.
Up near St. Louis.
They've done a lot of things at Gateway in the last few years. That has become a really good motorsports market.
Yeah, we have a great truck crowd up there when we go up there, and looking forward to that. It'll actually be a combination weekend with the truck series and the ARCA Racing Series at Gateway.
Be a great show.
19 of the 20 races are on live television this year, 8 on Fox, either FS1 or FS2, and we can't wait. And we want to find out what's going to happen in this one. We're going to have 10 laps or so to go when we get restarted. And there's a great story in this race. He's a former winner in the ARCA Racing Series, but it's been a little while. Mark Thompson, though, Dylan, is in the mix here tonight.
And he's making his 100th career ARCA start tonight. Former Daytona pole sitter in the ARCA cars, won that in 2015. He's also trying to qualify for the Daytona 500 next Sunday. He and crew chief Carl Long have been using this almost as a test session for their Cup car. They've been racing throughout the day, and Mark has been reporting to Carl about what the car is doing, and they've been taking notes, trying to apply anything and everything they can to improve their Cup car effort. So kind of cool that there's a little bit of parlay and carryover from both these cars to the Cup cars.
He ran the Talladega Cup race last year, a 2-time winner in 1997 in ARCA at Charlotte and also at Michigan.
We have to assume the 43 is going to start on the bottom, so that means the 28 and the 54 cannot work together on this restart.
Yeah, we'll see which way Sean Corr goes, whether he wants Noah Gragson behind him or Travis Braden behind him. I'm sure there's some conversation going on pit road or up in the spotter stand or both to try to determine who's going to work with who as we get close to 10 laps to go.
Running in 14th position, this is Tony Marakovic, who's making a super speedway debut. He had 3 starts last year. He's starting for Andy Hillenberg's team, just 19 years old. They've been pretty quick this weekend. Shuffled a little further back in the start, but really nice young man with a lot of road racing experience that's never done anything bigger than a mile. So no better place to start than Daytona International.
Yeah, great sponsor on board, the Smart emissions reducer. They were really excited about this effort.
Tony was actually a teammate of mine last year and enjoyed working with him.
I talked to Tony a little bit this morning, and he was really excited. Said, we didn't get the qualifying run that we wanted. I said, hey, you've got a long race here, and he's doing a nice job racing his way up into the top 15.
Report that Brian Doza has been checked, cleared, and released from the infield care center, one of those involved in this 4th caution just a little bit ago. So good to hear that. So what's going to happen on this restart? Sheldon Creed and Noah Gragson worked a plan together for the last restart when they were 1-2. Well, now Sean Corr is the leader as we watch Brett Holmes running in 5th position, having a really strong run tonight in his 2nd full-time campaign in ARCA.
They weren't happy with the 2017 season, so they changed the paint scheme on the car. They changed their logo and everything. They wanted a fresh outlook. They did want to mention that that Ben Leslie got hurt in a shop fire not too long ago. He's a couple weeks away from coming back to work, so we want to wish Ben a speedy recovery. They have a little logo on the beat post of that car saying "Get well soon, Ben." Ben's somebody I've known for a long time, so good to see him recovering.
Well, let's find out more about our leader with Dylan.
We're with his crew chief, Mike Cheek. Mike, what's Sean saying? Does he feel like he's got a shot to hold him off here these last 10 laps?
Oh yeah, that car loves the fresh air. If we can just get a decent restart, this thing will pull away, I think. Want to give a shout out to Sean's dad, Mr. Cora, our owner. He's in the hospital, a little ill down in New Smyrna. Boss, we'll see you tomorrow, trying to bring you a little something happy here.
Be awfully cool to see a Petty Blue 43 back in victory lane at Daytona as well, guys.
Sean Corr's best career finish is 5th, and that came right here back in 2013. This is his 46th career ARCA starts.
If Sean can pull this off, you know, Mike Cheek's nickname is Grumpy, and I don't think he's going to be too grumpy if he can pull this off. You see, he's going to take the inside. He's going to work with Noah Gragson in the 54 car.
I think that's very fortuitous. Gragson might have the best car right now among those up front, but there are a lot of contenders. I'm not sure I could pick one.
Yeah, I think the 28 and the 54 would like to work together if it works out. But sometimes, obviously, now they're in different lines and different rows, and you have to go when you can.
So Creed has Travis Braden behind him on the top line. Thompson, then Herbst. That's the high line. Then you see Dean back there. On the bottom line, it's Core, Gragson, and under 10 to go. Pace car about to pull off. It might be the final restart to determine the season opener for the ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards.
So important to get a good restart here, and don't leave the guy right behind you. Have him go with you. Motion for him when you're getting ready to jump in the throttle.
Watch Brett Holmes back there, 3rd in line on the bottom line. Chase Purdy back there in the red Bama Buggies car. Back to green at Daytona. Creed on the top side, Core on the bottom side. Gragson trying to push Core along. But Braden is giving a good bump as well to Creed up top.
Both those guys in the second row did an amazing job on this restart.
And they stay hooked up. Headed to the backstretch.
Top lane with an advantage off too.
A little bit of energy there on the outside.
And that's Braden doing the work. And Core will duck in line right there. So it's Creed, Core, Gragson, Braden, Holmes, Thompson, and Purdy. And Thompson's the only one on the top side right now.
And Gus Dean is hanging in there. He's on the inside of Herbst with that damaged car.
Watch that green and white Sinclair car back there of Michael Self. He's trying to stay within range.
He's lined up with Tom Hessert, that black and blue car on the outside.
But they've got to catch the pack. The front pack has inched away just a bit. Led by 20-year-old Sheldon Creed, looking for his first ARCA win.
Those guys on the outside need to get in line. Stay single file and try to catch that front pack.
Sean Core still in second, takes a little bump from Gragson, hangs on to it. Braden in 4th, Holmes, Purdy, that's the top 6. They've spread out a little bit.
Oh, we're going to see a caution. Caution is out.
And it's for the 10 car of Marakovich. We just mentioned slowing to a stop on the apron. Caution.
I wonder if he was one of the guys that only made that one pit stop early on. Now we're hearing that maybe he made some contact with the outside safer barrier. There's Michael Self going by him.
Possibly some oil. Looks like the...
Because Michael Self was all up against the wall, and then Tony came along and made some contact with the wall.
There was a big slide. Let's see what we can see again. Oh, he slid up into Michael Self. So Marakovich got up into Self, who then hung on to it, and then Marakovich slid up a little higher.
Almost looked like a right front tire or something went down quick on Marakovich's car as sharply as he turned right.
Definitely mechanical, yep.
So Self in 11th position might have a little bit of damage.
Both on the left and the right. Left where Marakovich made contact with him, and the right side from the wall.
And now Sheldon Creed on this restart is going to have what he likes, because he's going to have Noah Gragson behind him. He's in 3rd. So it's Creed, Core, Gragson, Braden, Holmes the top 5, Purdy, and Gus Dean still within reach.
Yeah, when you said earlier this might be the last restart, I was thinking to myself, I'm not too sure about that.
I wouldn't have bet on that, but it might have been. Chances were not good. So we'll see if we finish in regulation or go to ARCA overtime. The Lucas Oil 200, driven by General Tire, is nearing a conclusion. We've got another late race caution in the ARCA opener at Daytona. We saw similar happenings last year. Austin Terrio is joining us in the booth with Phil Parsons. I'm Kevin Lee. In the final stages last year, with Austin out in front, heavy damage for Justin Fontaine in the 33. Cody Robaugh, Bobby Gerhardt also involved in it. I saw Justin at the racetrack today. Good to see him. He's got a full-time Camping World Truck Series ride, but he had a pretty significant back injury. Austin, similar to what you had, a compression fracture.
It's great to see him come back and fight back from an injury like that.
And then you also have experienced what these drivers are experiencing, the late race restart, and dealing with that. How do you deal with knowing you may only get one more chance to go?
Well, you never want to tell yourself that you've got the checker flag in hand, and it's never over till it's over. So what these guys have to do, they have to focus one last time. There may be other cautions. Let's just hope that they go green here and finish it out, but total focus from here on out.
Let's check in with Dylan.
Well, and Sean Corr's guys are happy for that caution because it puts him in the outside lane. Travis Braden pushed Sheldon Creed to the lead on the last restart. So this time, the 43 car is in front of Travis Braden. They've got Chase Purdy third in line on the outside lane as well, who has not been shy today about using his front bumper to push cars. So Sean Corr and his guys hoping for a similar situation to happen on this restart, maybe put them back up front.
Who do we like up front of this pack of the top 7, 8, maybe even 10 cars?
I like that inside line. I like Creed and Gregson lined up together. Brett Holmes has done a nice job. He's in the third spot inside line, but the 54 and the 28 have worked together really well.
I'm going to go with the underdogs on the outside, Corr and Braden.
5 to go. Looking for the pace car to pull off. The lights are out. Creed on the bottom side. Corr up top. Neither have won in ARCA. Gregson has won in the Truck Series, not in ARCA. Braden won his very first race, trying for number 2. He restarts in 4th. Gregson giving the push to Creed on the bottom side. Can Braden help push Corr to the front? Chase Purdy making it a 3-car push on the outside.
Great start on the outside by your guys, Austin. But look at that inside line. Look at the inside line go.
Nosing in front, it's Sheldon Creed leading again at Daytona.
Braden jumps to the inside and leaves Sean Corr. Now Sean's going to try to side draft to kill the momentum on the inside.
Braden is fast, and now he's on the bottom side, chasing Gregson and Creed. Holmes right there on the bottom side in the 23.
See Tom Hessert, Michael Self went through the middle, put the 66 of Mark Thompson on the outside.
Purdy has moved up top. We'll see if he can push Corr back into contention. Right now, the top 2 have checked out just a bit. Creed and Gregson. 3 to go in Daytona.
See that outside line trying to get a little momentum. Look at the black and blue car of Hessert with a bit of a run. He's pull up on the back of the 8 of Purdy. Now he's going to go around the outside, put Purdy in the middle. Michael Self's helping him on the outside.
Oh, and Purdy's just going backwards there in the middle with no help. Self in the green and white 15. Munter down on the grass. Will it stay green?
Great save by Leilani.
Trying to get out of the way as we come to the line with 2 to go coming up.
3 wide.
Back there for 5th position. And Gus Dean grabs that spot for a moment.
How can Gus Dean be racing for the 4th spot with all that damage in that 32 car?
Top 4 have checked out just a bit. Creed, Gregson, Braden, and Holmes.
Just 2 to go.
Dean is in 5th, then Corr, Hessert, Herbst, Purdy, and Self, the top 10. Prater, Zane Smith, who dominated early, is back in 12th position.
27 wants to go to the outside, but he has to be careful here.
He needs to wait a lap, I think. Don't want to take a shot now. Purdy's pushing Corr in the outside.
And you don't want to show them your move until you're ready.
Coming down for the white, Kevin.
Through the tri-oval. Sheldon Creed with Noah Gregson on his bumper. 2.5 miles to go in the season opener at Daytona. And we're back to a dozen right there in a pack. Creed into turn number 2. Gregson a car length behind. Another car length back to Braden. Here comes Corrigan in that blue 43 on the top side with a good push from Purdy. They're wrecking. Holmes is going around and upside down. Zane Smith around. A big one here at Daytona, but keep in mind, this is not the finish of this race. We will see a one-lap shootout to determine this one. So another restart coming. And that's Holmes on his side. Thompson also comes to a stop, and multiple cars involved here on the final lap at Daytona.
There's the 32 of Gus Dean.
He survived the early contact, a couple of more near misses with contact. His day looks like it will come to a close, and we will have a red flag.
We could feel the energy building from up here.
Yeah, and you just fight for space, and you get to the last lap, and you know if you give up 3 or 4 feet, then you're probably not going to get it back.
There's Mark Thompson, who's having such a good run. We see him moving around in the car.
Winning that down.
I want to see Brett Holmes, who was on his side. There's Brett moving around. That's Gus Dean, I'm sorry. That's Gus Dean. He says he's okay.
He gave that car a great ride after all that damage he got earlier in the race.
And through all of that, Sean Corr is shown in second position. But we'll wait and see how this all plays out once they get things settled in.
Yeah, it all depends on when the ARCA racing officials put the caution flag out, because you cannot advance your position once the caution flag is displayed.
But he was moving on that top line. He's definitely in the top four or so.
Definitely had some momentum, yes. Yeah. He could very well be in second.
The top lane had a bunch of good cars there right before that wreck. He had the 41 of Zane Smith, Purdy.
I think Zane ended up with a lot of damage in this incident as well.
So I think that's a good sign that Brett Holmes is okay, because they're working on just putting the car back upright.
I believe that's Zane right there, isn't it?
It does look like Zane Smith.
Yep. He walked under his own power to the ambulance. It's good to see.
He had a great run early. A little contact on pit road, got shuffled back, and too many good cars. It was too difficult to make your way back to the front. Gus Dean climbing out.
And remember, as you mentioned, we will have a one-lap shootout.
Because they saw the white flag, that's why.
You take the white, then you come around and take the checkered.
Yep, we'll get confirmation from the ARC officials. It will be green and white together when they restart this race for one lap. But that doesn't mean that's going to be it. If we have another incident on that last lap, then we will have another restart. We will finish this race under green.
We've got time.
We have time.
Cup qualifying is at noon tomorrow. So we're clear until then.
I mean, we've kept Austin up here the whole time. We might as well just finish it off.
This is good view, though, isn't it?
Great view.
Not as good as the view he had last year out front. We'll take that one. Austin Terrio is joining us in the booth, the 2017 ARCA champion. With Bill Parsons, I'm Kevin Lee. Jim Trado and Dylan Welch are on pit road. And we had a pretty big win on the white flag lap.
Talk about the nerves that Sheldon Creed is feeling right now. He knows he's in first place, but the race is not over yet.
He seems like a pretty calm character to me, but that may be just outward appearance. Everyone has to feel it, because I put you in the same category. You appear as calm and as steady as anyone I've ever met. What are you feeling in those circumstances?
You still feel it.
Yeah.
You still feel it. One lap to go. The race is not over. Anything can happen.
We can see Brett moving around over the top of the hood. Yes, it is. You can see the roof is intact with that car. It did not smash. Didn't look like it landed on the roof. Certainly landed on the side and slid along on its side.
We'll have to see a replay of that.
So it's going to take a little bit to clean up the carnage from this one, and then we are in store for a one-lap shootout with great stories up front. Sheldon Creed has won Stadium Super Truck Championships. He's driven on road courses. And there's Brett Holmes. Good to see.
Absolutely.
Definitely disappointed, but it's good to see him out.
Yeah, he had a great run going to. Did a really nice job looking for a fresh start to the 2018 season, and he was within a half a lap having a great finish.
Now, if our monitors are correct, Chase Purdy's running 5th, and just a lap before that, he was in the middle lane headed backwards, so good recovery for him.
So let's go back and look at how all of this got started. Look at the 23 on the bottom side of Holmes.
See that we've got the 18 pushing the 32, and the 32's trying to help the 23, but he catches him in the right rear corner, and that turns him sideways. And I think he launched off the front of the 66 of Mark Thompson.
If it wouldn't have been for that incident, the outside line definitely would have had a shot at the win.
And I think you guys might be right. Sean Corr is being shown on our scoring monitor in second, and he's lined up second under this red flag.
See, look at the momentum the outside lane had before that.
I'm not sure, though. It depends on.
Remember, it's not instantaneous. I mean, it's not. You know, the caution flag's going to come out as soon as they can, because they know the damage is severe enough that we need a caution flag. As you see Brett Holmes sliding down driver's side.
That's going to be close, because Corr definitely had the momentum, and it was on his way. From that angle, it looks like he is ahead of.
It does.
I think
Gregson.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure does.
And then Purdy is up there. And Zane Smith almost was ahead of it, and he got hit on the rear quarter.
Yeah, Dave Mader III made hard contact with Zane Smith. Dave Mader was doing a nice job. We haven't talked a whole lot about him. He's a former winner here in the series back in, what, 91?
Correct.
He won a race at Michigan. He was a Snowball Derby winner in 1978.
On board with Gustine.
Yeah, he was trying to pedal the throttle to try to get out from that situation.
Riley Herbst just had a few close calls tonight.
Both those cars in front of him involved in the incident. Let's see how Riley gets through here.
Looks like he takes a wild ride through the grass.
He dodged 2 of them. Didn't spend too much time on the grass, though.
Did a great job. This is going to be a great view right here. Look at everybody going down to the grass. That's Thomas Prater, that yellow and black car that went through the grass a little bit, and then we saw Riley Herbst go through the grass.
Prater came out of that scored in the 6th position.
Yeah, you see Riley Herbst is pushing the 32. Really, Gustine, we heard him trying to get out of the throttle, but he's being pushed from behind. Just made contact with the wrong spot on that 32. And look how far underneath the 32, the 23 that Gustine goes. Michael Self going through there. There's Tom Hessert, the 55, going through there. There's the contact from Dave Mader.
Big impact.
He was fastest in practice here on Thursday.
Yeah.
He was really enjoying his weekend.
I'm not sure there was a happier person in the garage here than Dave Mader.
So this is all in the back stretch going in, heading towards turn 3. Look at the visual of those sparks.
Yeah, it's amazing pictures.
And there's the aftermath of the 23 for Brett Holmes. So Holmes, Dean, Smith, Mader, and Thompson among those involved. We have a green-white finish coming up. 1 lap to determine the opener at Daytona. Stay with us on FS1. Flag for the Lucas Oil 200 driven by General Tire in the ARCA season opener at Daytona. Sheldon Creed is the leader, and Phil, since he's not as busy right now, see if you could check in with him.
Yeah, let's see what's on his mind. Hey, Sheldon Creed, Phil Parsons up in the Fox Sports 1 booth. You got a copy? Sheldon, you've done a great job with that United Rentals Toyota. What are you thinking here now, knowing you're going to have a 1-lap shootout? What's your plan?
Yeah, I mean, we've had good restarts all night. Noah Gregson, the 54th, is really good, pushing us at 27. Helped us get back to the lead there, pushing us. So just got to do our job here, get a good last restart, get through the gears, good, and hopefully the 54 of Noah does the same thing. And the biggest thing is we don't want to be too wide coming up the 2, because then that'll give us a lot of chance. So just gotta do our jobs here, and hopefully we can come around and lead.
Do you have a plan, Sheldon, to keep that 54 close to you? You don't want to get too far out in front of him. You have a plan to make sure he stays with you?
I mean, hopefully we just hook up, and I can lay up the gas a little bit. We can stay connected, or just gotta watch him if he tries to make a move. I gotta kind of block, I guess. So just gonna try to do our job here. We've had a good car all night. The MV guys have killed it all week, so just gotta get a win for them.
We've done a great job all night, buddy. Finish it off.
Thank you.
Let's find out what's happening on pit road for some of those on top of the stand making decisions. We start with Dylan.
And we're down with Coley Barraclaw, who's the crew chief for Chase Purdy, who runs 5th right now. You guys were back near the back of the top 10 just about 4 or 5 laps ago. Now you're back up to 5th. How are you able to get back up there so quickly?
Just do what TJ tells him to do. He's doing a good job. It's his first Speedway race. Pretty proud of him. So I think we're going to line up 4th, so whoever gets in front of us, we're going to push him to victory lane, and hopefully we can follow him.
What has the learning process been like for Chase over the course of this race? It is his first Daytona start.
He's learned that riding the bottom is a lot easier. It's a lot more work to ride outside, and he learned that. He's been out there, but he's done a good job. He's kept it clean. He's helped everybody around him, so that's what he's here for, get respect, and that way they'll work with him better next time.
1 lap, can you go from 5th or 4th to the win?
Anything can happen in this race, so whoever's in front of us, we're gonna help push him out there, and if we go with him, if we can get by him. But we're running out of time. We just want a nice, I'm happy with the finish we got right now if it ended right now. For the long term, for Chase, good learning curve. He'll be all ready for Talladega.
Chase Purdy restarting 5th. That's the thoughts of the man calling the shots for him, Coley Barraclaw. Let's go to Jim Trado.
Starting just ahead of him on this restart when we go back green, Dylan, is the driver, the number 54 of Noah Gragson. His crew chief for DGR Crosley Racing is Chris Lawson. And Chris, I know your spotter's been way engaged. Jason Hedleski's been through a lot with Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards for years behind the wheel. Now he's got Noah, and you've got a new car, a new team, and this driver's been able to put that car just about anywhere. What's your strategy now as we're nearing this 1 lap to run?
Well, even as good as Jason is, we actually got Tony Hirschman up there, and he's doing an amazing job. So I want to give a lot of credit to him. And really, it's between him and Noah is what has put us in the spot we're in. So just going to hope that 8 pushes us, man. That's what it's down to now.
Now, you guys made a deal earlier with Sheldon Creed saying, okay, we're going to play nice with the 28. We're going to make sure we get a distance, get a gap. Any other strategies playing out with Sheldon Creed will start just ahead of you?
I mean, I think it's every man for himself now. I mean, we're 1 lap away, and I think you just got to go.
That's the crew chief, Chris Lawson, for the number 54 of Noah Gragson. Noah's only got 1 prior ARCA Racing Series start here at Daytona. He said, I need more drafting experience. And this team went, since they got here, building this car a month ago without coming to the test in January. They've got a strong piece to the finish here, guys.
All right, thank you, Jim. Also, we've got information of those involved, checked and released from the Infield Care Center. That includes Brett Holmes, Gus Dean, Zane Smith, and Mark Thompson. They're all okay. So we're lined up, ready to go for 1 more lap. How did we get there? It has been an eventful night here tonight, starting with 20-year-old Natalie Decker on the pole and Zane Smith on the outside grabbing the early lead.
Pretty calm for about 24 laps. Then we had the 99 and Ronnie Osmer lose an engine. Then we had a couple cars get involved in an incident trying to avoid him. That brought out caution number 1.
Gus Dean with some early damage stayed in. Riley Herbst, one of those expected to be quick with some problems early on.
A lot of issues on pit road today.
Yeah, Zane Smith leaving his pit, runs into the 5 of Bobby Gerhart.
And then further back, Daniel Sasnett going around, causing one of our 5 cautions.
Ed Papa, the 22, gets involved along with Andrew Belmont. Another view from what Natalie Decker saw, or for an instant anyway.
She was able to escape a couple of different times. Here, though, got into the back of Max Tolman, one of the early contenders. He led laps in the beginning, but took some contact.
Yeah, just a chain reaction on a restart. Natalie got the worst of it, unfortunately.
Decker, by the way, is still in this, though. She'll restart in 10th. Here's Gus Dean, Quint Houff, Bo Lamastis, Brian Doza, all making significant contacts.
Here's the most recent caution that brought out the red flag with Brett Holmes getting turned around with contact from Gus Dean. Hard hits. Bo Lamastus involved in this as well. Mark Thompson. I'm sorry, not Bo Lamastus, but Mark Thompson involved with this.
And that was on the white flag lap. And that's why we are red right now. And they're rolling again. We're under yellow. When we take the green, it will be a one-lap shootout. So, Austin, we heard from a driver. We heard from crew chiefs. First, what are you doing if you're Sheldon Creed to help your chances in front?
Well, I'm still hoping that the 54 of Gregson helps me get going. I mean, this restart is going to come down, and I think ultimately the winner of the race is going to come down to what happens between the start-finish line and the end of turn 2. I mean, the momentum that you have. I think if you have the lead coming out of turn 2, you're in a good position because you only got one lap. You don't have a second lap for other stuff to happen, and it's going to come down to the restart here and making no mistakes. You got to time your restart perfectly. You can't go too soon because you need the guy behind you to push you.
As Sheldon Creed told us on the radio a few moments ago, he's going to want help from Noah Gregson in the 54, but then he may have to play defense because Noah Gregson doesn't want to finish second in this race.
Yeah, Noah did not come here to run second, so you're going to help the 28 until you feel like you possibly have a run to pass him, but we just don't have a lot of time left, so I think the 28's in the catbird seat, but anything can happen.
But Sean Corr's been so good on the outside in that 43 car, and he's going to have a good pusher. He's going to have either Chase Purdy or Travis Braden, depends on who's going to line up in the 4th spot.
We're definitely not counting him out yet.
It looks like Chase Purdy now is lined up in the 4th spot. His crew chief was right. Cully was right. They're going to restart in the 4th position.
So, Phil, let's say you are Noah Gregson and you're starting behind Creed. Is your best hope get the two of you past the outside line, and then if you want, if you see the other line coming, you can jump in and go with the high line?
Well, that's what I would want to do. I would try to push Sheldon Creed out where I'm clear of maybe Sean Corr, whoever may be leading that outside pack, and then just immediately jump in the outside and try to leave Sheldon Creed by himself.
Because at that point, Creed doesn't have anybody behind him, and you move to the outside with the momentum there. So.
And as we said, Noah Gregson is not running for points in ARCA. He's a full-time Camping Wheel Truck Series driver for Kyle Busch. So it's win or nothing is what he's looking at here.
There may not even be an opportunity for Gregson to go to the outside because Purdy and Corr, I think, are going to have a strong restart here.
Yeah, Purdy, it looks to me like Purdy's been one of the best pushers that we've had here in this race tonight.
And then there are those that are lurking just a little further back, like Tommy Prater, Michael Self, Riley Herbst, Tom Hessert, a lot of experience here. Natalie Decker restarting in the 10th position. Bobby Gerhart restarts in 12th, looking for a 9th win here at Daytona. He's the only one entered this year that's won previously at this track.
Yeah, give a call to Chuck Hires in the 06 car. He's running in the 13th spot. How about the 37 of Kirk Horton? We haven't talked a whole lot about him. He's up in the top 15 and 14th. Brad Smith making his 300th career start in 15th. And Con Nicolopoulos driving for Wayne Peterson right now up in the 16th spot.
In 17th, I want to mention Jerry DeWeert. I had a nice conversation with him today. He's from Belgium, has never done any kind of oval race more than about a half a mile. He's got a lot of road course racing experience, and he is loving his weekend here, and it's going really well, and he's planning on hopefully doing a few more ARCA races this season.
He's done a nice job.
Michael Self and Riley Herbst, 2 cars that had issues at the beginning of the race, running in the top 10.
Yeah, even in what we think is a really quick race with 80 laps, you still can persevere and get yourself back into contention.
And let's not forget, this is race 1. These guys are going to be competing all year. Coming out with a top 10 finish is not the end of the world. You know, you can build on that.
It's Daytona.
It's Daytona.
Would you have been happy last year with a top 10?
No.
Okay,
I'm just saying. But definitely, you know, if you're running for points and you win this race, this could put your year on a really, really, really good projection as far as knowing that you got a good team and the confidence can take you so far.
You got a great view there of Michael Self. What an amazing record he has here in ARCA. Over the limited number of starts he's had so many top 5 finishes, including that big win at Kansas last year. Came from a long way back to get that win. Let's take a look back at Kansas, our last race of the year, when Austin Terrio was busy clinching a championship. Look at him there. How about that restart there? 5 wide. He emerges with the lead off of turn number 2 and goes on to victory.
That was a huge win for him.
Well, he had been so close a couple of other times. Similar, I think, to Sheldon Creed, too. We had some great restarts. Remember the one that Christopher Bell had last year? Was that at Chicagoland?
Sure was, so. Yeah.
So
ironically, that's the same car that Sheldon Creed's driving, the 28 car. Anyway, same team, MDM Motorsports.
So what's in store for us here? They had a little mix-up in timing and scoring. Maybe you noticed that on the left side of your screen. But Sheldon Creed is the leader. Sean Corr is second. Then it's Noah Gragson, Chase Purdy, Travis Braden, Tommy Prater. Those are the front 3 rows. Self and Herbst, the 4th row. Hessert and Decker, the 5th row. And Willie Mullins right now running in 11th position.
It's another guy that has a top 10 finish here at Daytona on his resume.
Finished 8th last year at Daytona. Willie Mullins did. Running for Hickson Motorsports. So now you drift through the cloud in the speedy dry. Let some of that dissipate a little bit, and the cleanup is pretty close to done. They'll drag it down the main stretch you see there. Don't forget, right after we're done, UFC pre-fight is coming up here on FS1, and it's actually on right now if you're looking for it on FS2. Also look into the FS Go app as well. Noah Gragson is rolling down pit road.
Got to be an out of gas situation.
Jim, what do you know?
Yeah, the matter of fact is when Noah got on the high banks in 3, he said, guys, I think we're out of fuel. We're out of fuel. So Noah Gregson's chances and all that interest in what he was going to do on the restart goes for naught as he needs a splash and go here on this caution lap.
So if he ran out, who else is worried?
Everybody.
Yes.
Everybody that pitted back when the 28 and the 54 did.
There are a lot of crew chiefs right now sweating on pit road.
And if I'm these guys, when they get down to turn number 3, I'm going to drive along the flat of the racetrack as much as I can. There's some safety equipment over in turn 4 on the flat, but I'm going to stay on the flat, stay away from that bank where that fuel will run away from the pickup. The pickup is over in the right rear corner of these fuel cells, so you want to stay on the flat as much as you can.
We're not ready to go green this time by. There's still a safety truck. Exit of turn 4 and a couple down on the apron in turn number 4. So what does Sheldon Creed have?
We see these guys so many times shut the engine off to try to save fuel. I'd be afraid the engine wouldn't refire.
You have to be careful with these engines because they're fuel injected. They need the fuel. It doesn't act like a carbureted engine, and it's more difficult to restart. I've had them not restart on me a couple times, and I think it actually happened to me here where you have to cycle the engine and stuff. But these drivers are possibly in situations they never dealt with before.
Let's see if we're going to give them 1 to go this time. No indication yet from the flagman.
Not this time.
So that's another year off the life of every crew chief.
A lot of puckering on pit road. So Sean Corr in position to start on the top side. Let's find out more about the 28, Jim.
Yeah, there's 3 MDM team cars down here. The leader is the 28 of Sheldon Creed. His crew chief is Jeff Stankiewicz. He took a walk down to confer. How worried are you on fuel with the 28, Jeff?
Well, now I'm starting to get worried. I have a feeling with all the speedy dry they put down, we're probably going to have another 2 laps of caution. He's saving everything he can right now, but we're still committed at this point. It is what it is. So there's nothing we can do about it now, and hopefully it all works out. We'll have our teammates starting behind us on the inside, so as long as we all have the fuel to do it, I'm pretty excited about that.
Again, their last pit stop and only pit stop for fuel came back on lap 23. About 5 laps prior to our most recent caution. The team was, the crew chief, Jeff, told his driver, hey, I think we're good. No longer need to turn the motor off under caution. But now that changed the scenario with this longer extension here. And as he mentioned, 2 more laps of caution could mean more than just the 28 is worried about fuel.
Con Nicolopoulos, we saw rolling down pit road. So that teammate he mentioned, that's Chase Purdy in the 8 car. He'll be right behind Creed, the leader.
One of the only downsides for leading at Daytona is that you burn more fuel. And so if you look at Creed right now, that's why they're sweating, because they're up front. You don't have the draft to depend on, so you always burn more fuel.
Yeah, these engines will get about 6 miles of the gallon. And again, that's just running green flags through and through. These caution laps certainly have helped. There's no way that they would have been able to make it this far without caution laps. We did speculate earlier that maybe a car lost a right front tire when he made contact with Michael Self. That was not the case. That right front tire was up on that car.
Furled flag.
Here we
One
go.
lap to go before we restart. Reed side drafting the pace car a little bit. And eventually Sean Corr will line up next to him. What a story that would be for Sean Corr. He's had some experience in the Camping World Truck Series, did a few races there, a lot of ARCA races, never better than 5th, and that was here at Daytona. Sheldon Creed is one of those drivers that, one of many in this lineup, that we think have a chance to be superstars on the brink of winning his first big stock car race. Chase Purdy, an up-and-comer. Travis Braden, very talented, on and on and on. Don't forget, UFC 221 prelims are right now on FS2, and after we're done, here on FS1. And when we go green, we will have 1 lap to go. ARCA finishes on green, so we could have multiple opportunities.
How about Thomas Prater now running in the 5th spot? His best career finish is 7th. He's been in the top 10 at points the last 5 years. I'd love to see him able to finish this off and get him a good finish. Looks like somebody's overheating there. Is that Natalie?
Looks like it.
She is in 9th position right now.
That wouldn't be that big a deal other than the fact, remember, these engines will retard the timing and they will lose some horsepower when it gets above 240 degrees of water temperature.
So you want to be on the lookout if you're right behind her as well. So, set to go for a 1-lap shootout to determine the biggest race of the ARCA Racing Series schedule. It's at Daytona International Raceway. Sheldon Creed, the young superstar, on the bottom side in the white number 28 United Rentals MDM Motorsports Toyota. The 43 on the top side is 33-year-old Sean Corr in the Empire Racing Ford, and a half dozen others still have a chance to get it done. Pace car is off. Creed controls the restart. He's got his teammate Chase Purdy pushing him on the bottom. Here we go with 1 to go at Daytona. And Creed has the early jump, but Corr is trying to come around the outside with Braden giving him a shove.
Good pushes from the 2nd row for both these guys. Look at him push.
Self is still there, back in 5th position. The front 2 rows, side by side, nose to tail, bumper to bumper. Corr in front, wiggles a bit. Corr on the back stretch. Coming right back is Sheldon Creed. They're still side by side going into 3.
Let's see who gets the advantage going in 3.
Creed on the bottom side.
Big
Purdy is going around, hard into the wall. Corr goes with him. Caution. And we'll try again.
Michael Self, Willie Mullins are the first 2 cars to get through there.
Riley Herbst also involved.
A lot of cars involved in that incident. There's Travis Braden. Look at all the damage to that 27 car.
Oh my, we are going to get a wild card winner here at Daytona. With the leaders coming together with 1 turn to go.
That's the onboard from Travis Braden's number 27, the General Tire onboard.
We've talked about it all day. It's so tough to go bumper to bumper for a whole lap here, and what you just saw in turn 3 was the consequences of that.
There's Brad Smith right there. That's Jerry DeWeert on the other side of him.
And the idea is that it's okay on the straightaways, but you want to get off the bumper in the corners. But last lap, nobody's going to get off the bumper.
Yeah, these cars are really hard to drive, especially when the rear wheels are off the ground.
So there's Braden.
See him moving around inside the car. That's from his onboard camera. Chase Purdy right there doing such a nice job in this race. See all the grass and the grill of the 28 of Sheldon Creed.
And he was the leader.
Now we're still going to have issues with fuel.
Yep.
We know that the 15 of Michael Self and the 3 of Willie Mullins were the first 2 cars to emerge from that turn 4 melee. There's Travis Braden climbing out of his car. Chase Purdy out of his car as well.
So Creed was involved in that as well, but he seems to have somewhat come through it as the red flag is out once again. As you can see, the cars all coming to a stop. So right now it's Michael Self, Willie Mullins, Noah Gregson back up to 3rd, now with fuel. Not as much of a concern as others. Then Creed and Kirk Horton, and that's how they're scored for the moment, so that's not official. There may be some double checking. Bobby Gerhardt in 6th, Tom Hessert, John Ferrier, Max Tolman back in 9th, and Andrew Belmont.
We saw Andrew involved in that early incident on the front straightaway, but I'm telling you, if Noah Gregson can be up there somewhere in the top 5 after pitting, what, 1 lap ago, basically, that would be an amazing comeback.
And he will be tough to hold off. All right, let's see what happened here. Creed on the bottom, Core on the top.
Nobody to blame here. These guys are just doing all they can do to be pushed. You see the 28 get pushed sideways, and then the 43 of Core and the 8 of Chase Purdy make contact. The 43 takes the 27 up into the outside wall. You see Michael Self go by relatively unscathed from this incident anyway.
Chase Purdy got tight on the bottom. You could see he didn't have any air on his nose, and he just couldn't keep it down there and got into the outside lane.
He didn't have any air on his nose because his nose was up underneath the back of the 28 car.
And you have to do that if you want to win the race, but you can see it here.
This is in the middle of the backstretch.
Bumper to bumper, gets tight.
You can see how much higher his nose was there with no air on it.
And once cars get together, it's over.
Thomas Prater hires the 06 and the 9. There's Brad Smith making contact with the 06. There's Riley Herbst, the NOS car on the right.
I think we're going to need to count the cars that haven't made contact.
Yeah, exactly. As Travis Braden's on board. Nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere to go.
On board with Natalie Decker.
She gets a good job. I'm sure Eddie DeHaan, her spotters, talking her through this. She gets through on the bottom now. Looks like the track's blocked in front of her. Brad Smith's going to go down there, pass her, and hit somebody.
She still did a good job getting through.
What an amazing job she did getting through that. Looks like maybe at the very instant she might have got hit from behind.
So this is Riley Herbst on board with his. He's had one of many that's had an eventful night. Just about everyone has.
I think he was going to be okay till Brad Smith ran into the 06.
This might give us a better look at Sheldon Creed, who almost got out of that. Tried to hang on to the spin, and then we presume just went through the grass.
Yeah, spins down through the grass. If he kept that car going, though, and kept it rolling, and is going to restart in the 4th position, then he still has a shot at this.
This might give us a better look at Sheldon Creed in the 28 United Rentals car. And gets it turned back around and keeps it straight, just barely on the grass.
Does not even spin. He may even get to line up in front of Noah Gregson. Right now, our scoring monitor shows Noah Gregson. Depends if ARCA deems that he was maintaining speed and when the caution flag came out. Look at the damage. The 06 into the windshield of Riley Herbst.
As a former car owner, how much are you thinking when you see these? How expensive
just
this is?
Dollar signs. Just dollar signs. I mean, after the fact, you think about trying to get that trophy first.
Yeah. And then second, you're making sure that the driver is safe.
Exactly.
But after that, it's this is gonna cost us a lot. So we're hearing that Noah Gregson is going to have to go to the tail. He's not going to keep his spot.
Yeah, we'll check with the ARC officials and find out what the ruling is on that.
So maybe he scooted through too many after the caution was clearly out.
You got to try to miss the wreck first.
Yeah.
You got to drive by him.
Oh, it's something totally different. He was laying back on the restarts.
Yeah, and on the restart before the incident. And he was going to have a drive-through penalty, we're hearing from the ARCA officials, even had this incident not happened. So so they're going to put him back now. They're going to take that spot away from him, put him to the back of the lead lap cars, I would guess.
So let's take one more look here with Riley Herbst on another big one, on another potential white flag lap. So we'll try again for the third time from Daytona coming up. Thanks for staying with us in Daytona for the Lucas Oil 200 driven by General Tire. Double overtime now. Another white flag restart is coming up. Don't forget, after we're done, it's the UFC 221 prelims, and that's already airing. The UFC 221 pre-fight is on FS2 and FS Go right now, and we'll join in when we're done after this red flag is lifted and we complete one lap here in the season opener for the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Michael Self under this red flag is the leader, and Willie Mullins is in second position down to pit road in Dillon Welch.
And we're down here with his car owner and crew chief, Andy Belmont. You guys have kind of been quietly riding all day, and now by process of elimination, find yourself in second with one lap to go. Just how you drew it up, right?
Well, we kind of planned a little bit of this. You know, we got a real tall gear in that thing for fuel mileage, and doesn't quite get going on the original start, so we need a little bit of help. But we just back there been trying to take care of it. I knew, you know, I've been coming here a long time. We just kind of knew what cars we didn't think were going to be around at the end. And, you know, we're blessed to be here. You know, it's Daytona. It's the Holy Grail, man. So bring the best car you can. You know, we were like second in practice when we come down here and test. And I knew we had a good horse, but we just, you know, everything's got to fall your way. You know, I mean, it's just, we're just proud that we're in this position and doing the best we can, but it ain't over yet. I'm not sure they're done wrecking.
What do you need from the cars behind you just to get into the front?
Well, the cars start behind us got same gear in a tranny and the same gear in the rear end, so I just told him, make sure he starts in second gear and pushes us and don't jack the wheels off the ground. If he does that, I'm not sure how bad the 15's wounded there. He got turned there a little bit. Looks like the back bumper's hanging out a little bit. But I think if we can get to run a good run on the top, I think we'll be all right. You just don't know. I mean, hell, we're second. We might be 10th before to get back to the checker. You know, we might be upside down too. So, you know, I'm just thrilled that they chose me to work for them. And, you know, we're a small team from Virginia, and a lot of volunteer help, a lot of guys busting their ass to be here trying to live the dream, you know what I mean? And got to give a shout out to my boys, current 10th in the Mod Space car. So I'm a little torn here. I'm watching the front and the back, you know what I mean? But I'm really blessed. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, two cars in the hunt here for Andy Belmont. Willie Mullins in second, and his son Andrew Belmont running in the 10th spot. Jim Trado?
Adventure Motorsports has 4 cars in the field. One driver that's worried about the lead is the number 15 of Michael Self. Self in the 15. Now that team, he's only got 10 races with him, so they have young Christian Eckes signed up for this team. Snowball Derby winner from a few years ago, and you know what? He has a chance to learn a lot here tonight. So he's on the ladder talking to who will be his crew chief on the short tracks here in the ARCA Racing Series. And Kevin Reed's the 2-time Daytona winner here, most recently in 2016. Now you've got all the scenarios played out, a lot of radio chatter. What are your thoughts as your car came clean through that to take the lead here on this restart?
Well, we come pit road. The rest of these guys in front of us hadn't pitted, so I'm going to imagine there's going to be a few more run out of gas here with as many laps as they've run. So I was trying to play it safe, come to pit road, put gas in it early, come back to pit road to make sure we had enough for the end because it felt like it's going to be pretty racy here at the end. Michael Self is as good as race car drivers on the premises tonight, so he should be able to go win this thing. Hopefully we can get a push out of the box here and it can just be nice and smooth and we can take it home with us.
Kevin, your first stop was fuel only. You slid through. You came in and changed 4 tires. Is that any advantage now, having fresher General tires under your car at this point?
Having General tires is always a good, fresh General tires is always better than not. So we'll just take our chances here and go see what we can do.
It's Kevin Reed again, winning in 2013 and 2016 with 2 different teams. Same driver, John West Townley, looking for his 3rd ring in the last 4 years.
We saw Christian Eckes, who we'll see later this season, did a great job last year as a 16-year-old. Finished second a couple of different times, still just 17th. So we'll see him later on this season. Who are you going to dial up?
Let's see if we can talk to Michael Self. Hey, Michael Self, Phil Parsons, and up in the FS1 booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Bill. Go ahead.
We've done a great job. You're trying to go 2 in a row here. I know it was a while ago when you won that ARCA race at Kansas, but that was our last one. You've done a great job keeping that car essentially in one piece, and we just talked to Kevin Reed, and he had a great strategy to get you guys out front. What do you think?
Essentially, that's the key word there. We bounced this thing off the wall not long ago. Gotten lucky avoiding a couple of wrecks. I don't know, man. I made a huge mistake earlier that I've been apologizing to my guys for when I blew my pit box on that second stop. But, I mean, Kevin and those guys, all the Trinity Motorsports guys on the Sinclair 15 car here, gave me a phenomenal car, so I felt terrible about that. I think he called the strategy, and, you know, the strategy didn't work out how he wanted because of my mistake.
Are you thinking the inside line here for this restart? Michael, you thinking the inside line here for the restart? We must have lost.
I think that's proprietary information.
He's not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Well, he does have the prime position to go here, and Willie Mullins will be on his outside. As Phil mentioned, Self won the last race of last season, looking to go 2 in a row. Willie Mullins has not won before. 37-year-old from Fredericksburg, Virginia. His best finish 8th here a couple of years ago at Daytona. Just a part-time schedule last year and this year as well.
Look at the speedy dry in turn 4.
Now look at the grass on the grills of Noah Gregson's car right there, that black and white Camry, the switch Camry. You see all the grass where he went through the grass avoiding that incident over in turn 4. There's Bobby Gerhardt's car. He's got a bunch of grass as well. But if we pan a little bit to the right, we hear that Noah Gregson is going to have to go to the back for this restart. Looking at Sheldon Creed's car too, a lot of grass on the grill of that car. So if they don't run too many laps under caution, then it shouldn't overheat. Remember, when these engines get to 240 degrees, they will detune themselves a little bit. And certainly he would not be able to run long with that much grass on that grill.
So fuel a concern for some, overheating a concern for some of the same and others.
And the beach. Here the beach over in this corner.
Yeah, vision.
Vision, yeah.
It's more sand than we have on the beach here in Daytona Beach.
So it's still going to take just a moment to get this finished up, but they're working on preparing the racetrack to resume. Now we've got plenty coming up tomorrow starting at noon on Fox. The front row will be set for the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. Qualifying is coming up at noon tomorrow, and then back here on FS1 it's NASCAR Race Day, leading up to the Clash with the playoff drivers from last year, those that won a pole, former Daytona 500 winners, as long as you were running full-time last year. So I think 17 are entered in the Clash tomorrow.
And remember, a little bit different format this year. After those Daytona 500 cars qualify, the next time they will be on the racetrack is for the duel on Thursday. No more practice from here on out. They will not be on the racetrack again until Thursday. They had their practices today, and that's it for them.
So normally one of the advantages to running the Clash is getting a feel for racing here at Daytona, but how much an advantage too, just getting a little extra practice time. There's not that much anymore.
A huge advantage, especially in race trim. You know, you're going to have the shoot at the Clash in race trim, so that's a big advantage to those guys that are in it.
So Austin, what are you thinking now? Especially kind of put your mind in the helmet of some of these that frankly probably weren't thinking they were going to have a chance to win when they entered this weekend. Now I've got a chance to win the biggest race I'm going to enter.
Talk about a turn of events.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago we were looking at some of these guys and commenting, you know, maybe a 10th place finish was going to be good, but look at them. You know, Michael Self, some issues early on, like we mentioned before. And it's not only that, but you get the fact that a few red flags in a row. You know, it's getting hot. Guys are getting tired.
And girls.
Guys and girls are getting tired, and for some of these, this is the longest race they've ever run. You know, still short compared to the Daytona 500, but you got caution after caution, red flag. You know, the cars are holding up, but a lot of these guys and gals have damage too. So, I mean, we may see a winner and that we may not even imagine. So we'll have to see how it turns out. I still think Michael Self's in a good spot right now. Creed, but you can't count row 3, 4, and 5 either. You can't count them out.
There's Bobby Gerhardt, who's won this race 8 times, 9 ARCA wins, all on super speedways. Jim, do you have more on the 5?
Yeah, I'm with his brother, Billy Gerhardt, who was a crew chief and on that team for all 8 wins and won at Talladega to make it 9. But I just reminded him, in 2012, their last win here at Daytona, they were in 7th position coming off of the final corner. 3 cars ahead of them ran out of fuel to the checkered flag, and guess who raced on to victory? You guys. Is that going to play out again tonight here, Billy?
You know what? It's been a crazy race, but never count Bobby out here. You know, we're missing a right front fender. He had a missing accident down there and locked the tires up, and then the right front blew going down the backstretch. But he says car's pretty good behind some folks, so we're not going to count him out here, and we have plenty of gas to make it to the end.
Now, when it comes to these bodies, you guys were able to build cars that you were able to use multiple years and keep them in the corner just for Daytona, just for Talladega. This has been a new undertaking. What have you learned with this body and keeping that speed? You showed it in practice, and now obviously with damage even in the race.
Well, you know what? We took one of our old chassis that's over 12 years old, and we like that status so much with those old cars, and we just worked the new body on it and tweaked some things and came here and tested last month, and we were really happy with the car. Unfortunately, we didn't have the best qualifying effort. You know, we shook that off, and we knew it'd be tough coming from the back, hard to pass. But we'll see what happens here, but never count Bobby out here.
The Gerhardt boys collectively have never given up to the checkered flag falls. That's Billy Gerhardt. His brother Bobby might have a shot here. He's won it before in dramatic fashion, most recently in 2012.
And only 2 other drivers have more super speedway wins in ARCA than Bobby Gerhardt. Tim Steele with 24, Frank Kimmel, who's here as a crew chief for Leilani Munter for the first time. He has 23, and 9 for Bobby Gerhardt, and maybe 10 here today as we see Leilani Munter's onboard camera. Now, meanwhile, we heard from Andy Belmont a moment ago. He's crew chiefing the 3 car. He's a really good race car driver in his own right. Started almost 200 ARCA races, finished 3rd in points back in 2001. As he said, and you can speak to this because your son races, how challenging is that? He's calling one race and he's watching his son there in the number 2 car, Andrew Belmont, making his ARCA debut in his first time at Daytona. I'm sorry, his first time at Daytona. He did do a few ARCA races a few years ago.
Yeah, he's one of the 16 drivers making their first start here. Really has done a nice job. Remember, he got caught up a little bit in that incident earlier when Daniel Saznet got into the outside wall on the front straightaway, but he's soldiered on here, and right now slides up into the top 10. So he's got a great shot at a good finish here. So really proud of him.
So the dust continues to fly. It is beginning to abate, we hope. We've got the Air Titans clearing things up, and we'll go back to 1 lap in a moment. Cleanup is coming to a conclusion. The blowers have been taking care of the speedy dry, and we'll have 1 lap to go in the season opener in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Michael Self will restart in front. We've got a chance to talk to quite a few. Who are we going to try next, Phil?
Let's talk to Tom Hessert. We talked to him at the very beginning of the show. Let's see what he's been up to. Hey, Tom Hessert, Phil Parsons and the boys up in the FS1 booth. You got a copy? Well, Tom, we talked to you about 3 or 4 hours ago before this race started, and you obviously had a good car. You've worked your way back up into contention. What do you think for the end of this thing?
Well, I don't know. It really went backwards early on, just conservative, and seemed to not really be a factor. I missed a couple of wrecks, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to shake out. They said the 20th got a little bit of damage, and the free seems to be fairly quick. We got our teammate up there in the 15th, so I don't know. We're just going to do our best. We got 1 lap here and try to get the victory lane.
Now, what's going through your mind, Tom, now knowing that you just have 1 more lap, and obviously the last time we tried 1 more lap, it didn't work too well?
Well, it's really tough. You try to, so much of what the lap is, the outcome is generated from 1-2 on the restart. So just try to have a good restart. We had a poor restart last time. I mean, in hindsight, it's probably with the good team, it was down to those top 4 cars. But I don't know. Just try to get a run on somebody here and do the best we can.
All right, buddy. Good luck.
All right, thanks.
Tom Hessert right now scored in 7th position, but we still think everyone might move up a spot. We were told earlier that Noah Gregson was to be penalized for laying off the last restart, so he's going to go to the back of the line. Right now he is 3rd in line. So if that holds, it would be Self, Mullins, Creed, Horton in the front 2 rows, and Gerhardt and Hessert, Farrier and Tolman, Belmont and Herbst, the top 10. Natalie Decker would be in 11th in that scenario.
You see Sheldon Creed's car. That's Sheldon right there. You can see that his splitter has been up a little bit where he went down in the grass there, so that's going to hurt him a little aero-wise, but we saw Gus Dean doing a good job with no left front fender, so it may be minimal, but you can definitely see that that front splitter has been pushed up as he went down through the grass.
Austin, I'm wondering if there's a challenge of sitting for so long and then trying to get back up in the saddle with laser sharp mental focus that quickly and for one lap with everything depending on it. What's that challenge?
You have to do it, but there's too much time for a bunch of different scenarios to go through your head right now. I mean, if you're leading the race, you're picturing 10 different scenarios of what can happen even before you get out of turn 2. And, you know, the chances are something different's going to happen than what you can even imagine. So you just have to be prepared for anything, really. Be flexible. I mean, know that you just got to hit your marks and hope that you have good help behind you. But the key, I think, especially with looking at who's in the top 5 right now, as long as Michael Self doesn't, you know, give too much of a gap behind him on this restart, I think it's his race to lose. But I don't want to predict anything. We've seen before anything can happen.
You know, one good thing about the change of the schedule this year, remember last year the Clash was scheduled right after this race, so you would be hustling up trying to get to that. There's nothing behind us at the track, so that allows the officials to clean up the track as much as they can and give everyone a fair shot at this final restart. There's a look at Kirk Horton, who right now is shown in 5th, but we think he's going to move up to 4th position. Dylan, tell us more.
Well, and he's obviously another one of those names that we're not used to seeing up on the top of the leaderboard. But that shouldn't be quite as big of a surprise as you'd maybe think. Those cars, his car and the team car, driven by Dave Mader, were prepared by Jeff Spraker. Shelley Stewart is the crew chief on this car, but Jeff Spraker is the one who prepared it, along with the teammate Dave Mader's car. Those 2 cars were fastest in practice on Thursday. So while we don't normally see drivers like Kirk Horton or even Dave Mader up near the front, it shouldn't be a surprise. They've been fast all weekend, and a good opportunity here for a good run for the driver of that 37 car.
How about that? In his first ARCA start, he has been entered before, but this is the first ARCA race that he started, and here with a lap to go in the biggest race of the year in Daytona, he's in the top 5.
Looks like that car's pretty clean too.
Yes, it does. He might win the award as the only one that hasn't been involved in anything. All right, let's go down to Jim now.
Well, it was a Petty Blue 43 on the outside of a restart just a few minutes ago, but Sean Core, the driver's back here with what's left of your number 43 Chevrolet. That had to be a wild ride you took there.
Oh, that really was. My dad right now is in the hospital down in New Smyrna Beach and had a stomach operation, and I hope he was watching it, and I can imagine how crazy he was going watching us up front there. But I would have loved to bring him home a trophy today, but it just didn't happen. Our Empire Racing guys have been working on this car since really Talladega ended last year. We've been brainstorming on how to make the perfect composite Speedway car, and I think we built it, and then I killed it.
Well, you've had the chance to develop young drivers, including Thad Moffitt, Richard Petty's grandson. That's the colors and the number 46 on your teammate John Ferrier's car. How exciting is that part of your Empire Racing driver development program?
That's very exciting. That is one of the nicest young gentlemen I could possibly ever meet. The kid comes into the shop every week, and if there's nothing to do, he's not above going and sweeping the floors in the shop and helping the guys build the Speedway cars and anything else that he can do. He's the Petty family, the Moffitt family. They've been so good to us.
And Thad's been here all weekend with wrenches in hand, working with his team. He'll get his chance hopefully for a 4th ARCA start with Sean Corr and the Empire Racing team here in 2018 after 3 starts on the short tracks a year ago.
Yep, Thad Moffitt is just 17. Tough way to finish for Sean Corr, but they knew he was here tonight. He was a factor late at Daytona. Well, that's a good sign. The cars are rolling again. We'll come back to try our 3rd white flag. One more to go from Daytona. Stay with us. Lap remaining. We'll try it for the 2nd time in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. But drama for the 28 Sheldon Creed, Jim.
Creed just radioed, guys, I think I have a flat. He wiggled the tires. He said, for sure, 1 tire is down. I need to come to pit road. The right front deflated under that red flag. Again, the team was worried about A, going through debris, and B, the tire wear on all these laps under this oil dry situation. Track doing the best they can, but the race leader at the time of our most recent caution, Sheldon Creed, in for 4 fresh General tires after the right front went down on this team. And their hopes of winning have been dashed as well.
A little bit of fuel, though. We were getting a little bit worried about whether they had enough fuel or not. We saw them dump some fuel in it, so he should be good to go now.
So Michael Self is the leader. Willie Mullins in 2nd. Noah Gregson is still shown in 3rd. We had heard that he was going to be penalized. We're still waiting to see. I'm going to guess the team is going to challenge that as much as they can.
I mean, he's lined up 4th right now.
Tom Hessert has moved in front of him there. So maybe just giving a spot back, which is one of the penalties that can be allowed at times.
We're still being told by the ARCA officials that the 54 of Noah Gregson is going to have to go to the back of the pack here. You see Natalie Decker now. Looks like it's going to line up in the 3rd spot with all the problems she's had, our pole sitter. There's Bobby Gerhardt, no right front fender on his Lucas Oil car. He will restart apparently in the 4th position once Noah moves out.
So maybe just look for
or
the
5th position, excuse me.
The most pristine cars. And we said Willie Mullins' car looks pretty good. Gregson's car still looks good, but he's going to have to deal with some track position if he serves this penalty. Hessert's car looks good.
Yeah, Kirk Horton's car looks good.
4 fenders was not a requirement tonight to run in the top 5. Even winning the race, we may see a car with 3
That's
fenders
right.
in victory lane.
Well, Michael Self's car's beat up pretty good, just about all the way around it.
Yeah, he said hello to the wall and he had a little contact early on. But he's got a chance to win the biggest race of his life. He won his first ARCA race in the season finale last year. He's won multiple times in the K&N Series. And the furled flag is being shown, so next time by, we will have 1 lap to determine the season opener in the ARCA Racing Series.
See the 54 of Noah Gregson move over now to let the field go by.
And look at Tom Hessert up there in 3rd position now. And he's got a lot of experience, a 6-time winner in ARCA, looking for his first win at Daytona. And there's Bobby Gerhardt, the 8-time winner here. That's going to be in play. And Natalie Decker, the young 20-year-old from Wisconsin who started on the pole, who's got a lot of damage in that car and has had many more near misses. She's still in play.
I think she would have liked to have been lined up with her teammate Tom Hessert, but she's going to have to line up on the outside of Tom Hessert in the 4th position. Bobby Gerhardt there back in 5th.
I don't even want to predict what's about ready to happen.
So there's Gregson back there. The back of that little pack.
I think that's essentially all the lead lap cars that we have that don't have a tremendous amount of damage. Now I'm sure the ARCA officials are telling him he's got to drop all the way back, not just to the back of the lead lap cars. He has to drop back to the back of the field.
What do you think about Hessert right now? I think
it's the same thing we were talking about before. Let's push Michael Self, make sure we get by the 346 car out of fuel. See if he can get sufficiently out of the way so we can go ahead and restart. That looks like that's the chicane over on the backstretch for the road course. Not sure he's going to be out of the way.
They're entering turn 4 right now. Pace car lights are out. Self in the green and white Sinclair car on the bottom. Mullins, the red and white number 3 car on the top side. Hessert in 3rd position. Decker is up there in 4th. Gerhardt, Horton. Pace car is off. One more time to decide the season opener from Daytona in ARCA, and it's a great jump from Michael Self back to the front.
Let's see if Tom Hessert can clear Willie Mullins now. Here comes Natalie Decker. She's pulling up in the back bumper of Willie Mullins. Outside line has a little bit of energy now. There's Tolman in the 78. He's now trying to decide whether he's going inside or outside.
And we know Max Tolman is fast. He was fast early.
25 is going to line up behind Hessert here.
And Self is all by himself. He has no help going down the backstretch. Half a lap to go. Does Michael Self have a big enough cushion? Mullins and Hessert for second, with Decker trying to push Hessert to see if they can catch Michael Self as they head to turn number 4. Michael Self has a cushion. Headed down through the tri-oval. Michael Self is going to win at Daytona. Win number 2, and it's at the biggest stock car race in the ARCA series.
Look at the excitement down on pit road.
Kevin Reed, a winner again at Daytona. And Venturini Motorsports celebrates at the World Center of Racing.
3 cars in the top 5 of Venturini Motorsports, with Hessert in 4th and Natalie Decker in 5th. What a comeback by Sheldon Creed to finish 3rd.
Noah Gregson recovers to finish 7th. Jim, take it away.
Kevin Reed, we know the emotion flows when he's got a chance to win, but you were on pins and needles for it seemed like forever. How much of a relief is this, knowing the emotion shows on the outside when you win races?
Man, we've won a bunch of them over the years, but every time they're sweeter and sweeter. At the end of the day, you just never know when you'll win another one. But this is 3 times down here, and there's nothing better than winning at Daytona International Speedway.
When it comes to this win, though, there had to be a lot of teamwork. You and Billy Venturini spent a lot of time getting these cars about right, and you damn near finished 1, 2, 3.
Well, we went to Talladega. I showed up. We went to Talladega to test, and they'd built a car there. And we got there, and we were 2.5 seconds off. He come home, and he said, I don't care what you got to do to fix it. I want you to fix it. Jack Irving gave us wind tunnel time from Toyota. Everybody's been behind it. Bill and Kathy have been supporting us with everything we need, and we're going to do a lot of this year.
Now a 3-time Daytona ARCA race winner as a crew chief, Kevin Reed.
So many good stories. Michael Self winning. How about Willie Mullins with his best finish in 2nd? Creed recovers to finish 3rd. Tom Hessert 4th, and Natalie Decker now shown in 4th position. They're flirting with that, so we're going to have to wait for that for an official finish for the top 5. But we know Michael Self won, and here is how he got it done with the restart.
What a great restart. Willie Mullins was not able to keep pace. Really, Michael Self just pulled away from Tom Hessert. Then Willie Mullins had a little help from behind, and that got him beside Tom Hessert, and that slowed their momentum, and that gave Michael Self enough of a cushion that he was able to drive all the way around by himself.
Too many cars with damage to make up that gap.
And even the 2nd row didn't have any kind of a push there. Hessert and Mullins were on their own. Decker got back in to help just a little bit.
Yeah, she was trying to help her teammate right here, Tom Hessert. That's her in the white and red car. Willie Mullins did an outstanding job. You talked about him finishing in the top 10 last year. He stays right there with Tom Hessert. Has a little bit of help from Sheldon Creed to get by Tom Hessert. He's going to end up with a 2nd place finish, and Sheldon Creed recovered from a late pit stop to come to home 3rd.
What a story. Michael Self wins with his partner Sinclair Oil. Willie Mullins, Sheldon Creed, Tom Hessert, Natalie Decker, the top 5. Max Tolman recovers to finish 6th, and Jim is in victory lane.
And the hugs continue here. Venturini Motorsports won here in 2013 for the first time, and Billy Venturini here in the gray shirt oversees the day-to-day operations. Michael Self in disbelief here in victory lane with his Sinclair Toyota. He said, I want to win races, and I want to do it with Venturini. Last year he won with MDM Motorsports and raced with Mason Mitchell Motorsports. He also won races on the NASCAR West Series, but this, no doubt, has to be one of the biggest victories for Utah's Michael Self as he climbs from the car in Gatorade Victory Lane at Daytona. What a way to start the season. Here he is, Michael Self, the winner at Daytona. It seemed like an eternity during that red flag, but look at that emotion. Michael, how did you do it?
What?
How'd you do it?
Survived, man. Just survived. Got lucky, made it through a couple wrecks. Just took this number 15 Sinclair Oil Toyota to just overcame a lot. This thing is rough. This thing has been beat up, but Kevin, Billy, these guys, Mike Herman Jr., just guided me, man. They just told me every single thing that I needed to do. I mean, they drove this car from the outside. I made mistakes. They helped me overcome them, and now we're here. Thanks to everyone. Big Bill Venturini.
We got to say thank you, Michael. Here comes the kiss from Papa Bill. Congratulations, Michael Self, a winner here at Daytona to start the season.
What a story, a great show tonight. Michael Self wins. Thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to a great 2018. For Austin Terrio, Phil Parsons, Dylan Welch, and Jim Trado, I'm Kevin Lee. Coming up next, the UFC 221 pre-fight show. Good night from Daytona.